I'm in the field, 2-minute drill, highlight reel, let's review, what's the deal, okay? Watching footage going out of control, buckle up, we got an hour to go, so let's go, that's straight heat. Ain't no chillin' around here, back that back, Nat Chance, how we feelin' around here? Got my whole squad in the building around here. If my name ain't on it, then I really don't care. Come on. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. The G on the beat, hey. Yeah.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
And how long is it? Like an hour 45 or minute 45?
An hour and 45 minutes.
That would be a long intro.
That'd
song.
be a very long intro and national anthem, if I do say so myself.
Chat, how would you feel if we changed the countdown song to the national anthem? Who can be mad at that?
I don't know. I kind of like the idea that our intro is fan created. It's a listener that helped create that piece of art.
Dude, DJ Ology can sing the anthem.
Now, if we did that, might be onto something. But welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, as you can already see, I'm at the big boy desk tonight. Christian's over there. It is me and Christian tonight. Don't believe we are getting an appearance from Brooks. In fact, I don't know if we'll be getting an appearance from Brooks at all this week as he continues to travel all across the great state of Georgia, checking out some high school athletes, getting up to date with all those sorts of things, doing his due diligence as a talent evaluator and all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's just me and Christian this week. And, boy, do we have a lot of topics, a lot of pressing topics to talk about here on a Monday. We'll have one topic that will start the show off first. Lane Kiffin had some very interesting things to say, as he always does, but these are really hitting the timeline right now.
Oh, are they?
Talking about some Ole Miss, another reason potentially why he left that for LSU. We're going to talk about that. We have quite a few lists that we're going to get onto today. Which programs will benefit the most long-term from a national championship? Get off the mat. Which teams would you like to see be good again in the great sport of college football? Top 5 things we like about the offseason, as treacherous as it is. There are some things that we do appreciate about the offseason. And then me and Christian are just going to hash it out. We're going to lob up a topic, something that we're super passionate about, and then we might debate about it. We might disagree. We might agree. We don't know. We'll just see where the road takes us. But first and foremost, we do want to start the show with prayers up for Ahmad Hardy. A very tragic event happened Sunday morning. I believe this was an event. He was at a concert Saturday night in the state of Mississippi, and then Sunday morning was shot and had to go into emergency surgery. It sounds like everything right now is good. He's good. That's what's most important.
Yeah.
But as far as football is so far away from what the actual event is. Like the fact that he is good and well and alive for now is fantastic news. That's great. Sounds like he might be able to continue playing football eventually. Don't know what the timetable is for him, but man, I mean, just an absolute crushing story. I can't even imagine being a parent first and foremost of Ahmad Hardy, but also like a guy like Eli Drinkowitz. I mean, you get a phone call in the middle of the night that one of your players has been shot and he's at the hospital right now having emergency surgery. It's just heartbreaking, gut-wrenching.
Yeah, I think it was his left leg, and they had, like you said, emergency surgery to either remove the bullet or stop bleeding. There's not a lot of details out on the situation right now, obviously out of respect for Ahmad Hardy and his family and just gathering details as a whole as to what's going on there. But like you said, the main story is that I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad that this doesn't appear to be something that's going to hinder his career. It might affect the 2026 season, and we'll get into that as we get closer to the season. Obviously, this isn't the time to talk about that, but yeah, prayers up to Ahmad Hardy.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most talented backs in all of college football. I was super high on him going into last season, had a stellar season for the Missouri Tigers last year, and was setting up to be one of the top backs, if not the top back in the sport this season. So hopefully that continues for him. Hopefully when he's back good and ready and healthy to return to the sport, if that's available to him, hopefully that continues for him, because anytime, I mean, obviously it's a sad story for regardless of anybody that would be involved in that situation, but for someone that is so supremely talented like Ahmad Hardy, I mean, just again, gut-wrenching. So wanted to make sure we got that out in front. Prayers up for him. Hope everything continues to trend in the right direction for him and that he is suited up in a uniform this fall. Let's just go ahead and dive right into this, though, Christian. The Lane Kiffin comments, this came from a Vanity Fair article.
Well, before we do that, do we want to talk about the Ross Dellinger tweet that we came across?
Oh yeah, we had other news
started?
too. This was some other big news that we stumbled across right before show kicked off, and this was a Ross Dellinger tweet, and this is the third time that this has gone through the courts, but it is called the SCORE Act. I got to pull this up again. Excuse me, guys, but it's appearing in front of court again for the third time, and there's some pretty big rule changes that are potentially coming to college football, or that they're trying to press into the sport. So I'm going to read the first quote from Dellinger. The SCORE Act is on the docket for the House of Representatives next week. Rules Committee meets Monday. A bill vote, if passed by rules, would be later in the week, likely Wednesday or Thursday. This is the third time SCORE has been on the docket. Now, this is the big thing here. He mentioned some of the rule changes that are involved in the SCORE Act. Number one, requires coach pay to be funded by athletic revenue. Number two, limits coach buyouts to donations. Number three, mandates disclosure of public funds used for athletics. And then the fourth one, prevents recruitment of coaches while coach/team are in season, also known as the Lane Kiffin rule. He made his decision at the end of the regular season. He was with LSU, did not finish out the season with the Rebels, but some pretty pressing potential changes coming. Now, again, this is the third time that this is being pushed out in front, so we'll see if anything changes, but very interesting to say the least.
So I think the one that grabs my attention most, and probably everyone's, is this Lane Kiffin rule where colleges are not allowed to recruit head coaches until their season's over. And I think that one of the main talking points, and Nick Saban pointed this out too, was that the overlap of LSU season ending and Lane Kiffin or Ole Miss's season ending was so drastic that it forced Lane Kiffin's hand in a way, to the point where, and obviously the recruiting and the talks from LSU to Lane Kiffin were talking before the regular season ended, I'm sure, but still, there's that month behind where LSU has to kind of sit on their hands and wait for Lane. It seems like you're putting the schools that fire their coaches at a disadvantage. Now,
oh, for sure,
this can be mitigated by not firing your coach mid-October, early November, and riding it out the regular season. But the incentive was to kind of get the first to the hunt. So I guess this will make firings a little bit pushed back. You might see more postseason firings than anything, but I don't know how it's going to stop. Hey, you can't talk to Lane Kiffin right now because his team's making a deep run in the college football playoff. Sorry, your season ended late November. This is going on until January. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we have tampering with players. I mean, we have rules that are supposedly set in place that you're not allowed to contact a player until they enter the transfer portal, and until that transfer portal window is open, by the way, yet players are contacted after signing teams or before they even enter the portal. Now, I know that it's probably a lot easier to govern this portion of the sport where it comes to coaches. I also say that because coaches are represented by big-name agents typically.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's probably that's a lot easier to govern, but at the same time, what you're talking about with how teams, we talked about it with Penn State. Penn State went ahead and cut the cord with James Franklin pretty early on into last season, and a big reason why we believed is because they wanted to go ahead and open themselves up to anybody. They wanted to be one of the first teams in the mix. Now, ultimately, that led to them getting a lot of no's, but they ended up falling into Matt Campbell, luckily for them. But it will be interesting, if that passes, if that does become a rule, does that change the timeline of when coaches are fired? I would probably say no. If you're going to go ahead and cut ties, I would say that it could still be beneficial for you to go ahead and fire your coach in the middle of a season, because then that at least puts it on the radar of other coaches that are still coaching elsewhere that, that job is opened up. I'm going to go ahead and get my thought process around that. Maybe when the time does come, I want to put my hat in the ring, all those good things, but Yeah, I mean, again, a potential major ruling change, and maybe it changes how the timeline of events occur in the middle of a season.
Yeah, and also the public funds being allocated. I think you can't fire a coach, and the buyout has to be paid with donations.
Yeah, it says limits coach buyouts to donations.
So basically, the university can't fund this anymore. It has to be. So the GoFundMes and everything are actually going to be usable now.
Yeah, and that's also a big portion of this too, because I think Brian Kelly's buyout was $56 million from LSU, which I understand that more than likely at schools like LSU, it probably is a big chunk of it. There probably is some crowdsourcing for that. Like, hey, if the boosters, if you guys are fed up with this, we have a major bill to foot here. We have to get all of our puppies in order right here. We got to make sure that we can actually do this. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think that'll really cause caution to like fire a coach just because the buyout's too large.
Do we know how different this particular bill is from the last 3 attempts of it? Because I mean, if they're just trying to keep pushing in the same regards, I have very little faith this will get passed. However, if they've been tweaking things or if this is a new amendment to it, it could very well go through, and it would make things very interesting. However, I don't know if it's changing much. Like we just talked about, most deals, whether it be players or coaches or anyone, is done through the agents. The agents are constantly in contact with the school. It's not like Lane Kiffin was calling up Baton Rouge and be like, hey, talk to me about these negotiations. It was Jimmy Sexton, I would imagine, is the one who represents Lane Kiffin. It's the same thing that happens with players. So I don't know if that's going to change much. Also, what's the other one about revealing where public funds are spent?
Yeah, basically the money that is spent in the athletic program has to be revealed to the public.
Interesting. So this is basically saying any money that the university makes can't be washed and given to players. It has to actually go back into resources. Otherwise, things are going to be so. What we're going to see more than anything is probably more under the table deals that we saw in the old age of college football, and we're going to see virtually nothing done about coaches being contacted. You might see some later firings because, we don't want to have the overlap. But other than that, I don't know what this changes that much in the sport, theoretically.
No, and I do want to note this. This is also a tweet from Ross Dellinger. An important point that's been made in the past plenty, even by lawmakers themselves. The SCORE Act, as written, will not pass the U.S. Senate. Even if it does pass the House, the legislation would need significant modifications to reach the Senate's 60-vote threshold. However, many believe the SCORE passing the House may help expedite movement in the Senate over a separate piece of legislation. Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell have been negotiating. That possible Senate bill would likely have a better shot of gaining support in both chambers. So, sounds like there's some road work ahead of this. Like, this isn't something that, hey, if it's passed this week, then all of a sudden it's implemented into college football. Like, there's still quite a few steps that need to be taken before this is actually implemented into the sport. But hey, just putting it out there in front of you, this was something that I was not aware of, so I figured, hey, the listeners probably are not aware of this SCORE Act that's potentially being voted upon, or that will be voted upon this week. Just kind of putting that on your radar of, hey, some potential changes coming to college football. And we know how this goes. It's floated around, it's talked about, then it's voted upon, then it's here. So this is another one of those scenarios of, hey, heads up on this. All right, now let's get into, I would say, maybe a juicier topic involving Lane Kiffin.
Was that pun intended?
No. Are you referencing the dog?
Yeah.
Is that what you're? No, that was not, but very clever. Lane Kiffin gave some more quotes, gave another potential reason as to what maybe influenced his decision to leave Ole Miss and go to LSU, and it's an interesting one, to say the least. But there was this article written about him from, what is it, Vanity Fair?
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair. And it kind of just gives a rundown of Lane Kiffin's career, how he's a very polarizing figure in college football. Paul Feinbaum in the article mentions him as an introvert, which is kind of surprising, in my opinion. Doesn't come across that way when he's in front of a microphone, I would say. But it does kind of make sense in other regards. But, just kind of gives us rundown of how his career is shaped, how he gets to Ole Miss. It was a struggling program. He builds it up, but then ultimately leaves them at the doorstep and heads over to LSU for bigger and better things. Before I get into this quote, though, what were your thoughts just holistically on this article?
Yeah, I feel like we get the time of year we talked about, this is where you get prime puff pieces, where someone writes an article to get close to a coach and really hams up how great they are, what they've been doing, how they've been doing things the right way. And I appreciate it. I don't know the gentleman or female who wrote this article, but It does a great job of kind of humanizing Lane Kiffin. It talks about
Chris Smith is who wrote it.
Great article by him, great work by him. It does a great job of kind of humanizing him and talking about the issues. It talks about how he had issues with marriage and alcoholism, and he moved around a lot as a kid. It wasn't just this, hey, he's been fighting the good fight and he's been doing things the right way in college football. So I appreciate that, and I think Lane Kiffin certainly has an interesting story to tell. So it does a great job of capturing that. It's definitely worth the read. I know there's a certain excerpt from it that everyone's kind of talking about, but it's definitely great work, honestly.
All right, so now let's get into what everybody is talking about when it comes to this article. So towards the bottom of this article, it really starts diving into Lane Kiffin kind of battling with this decision of, does he want to stay at Ole Miss? Does he want to go to LSU? Kind of feeling out both of them, and ultimately chooses LSU. And this was a quote. I'm going to read basically a paragraph for you from this, and this is what it says. Kiffin also seems willing to indirectly invoke Ole Miss's struggle to distance itself from symbols like the Confederate flag, Colonel Rebel, and the nickname Ole Miss itself. When he was coaching there, Kiffin says top recruits would tell him, "Hey, coach, we really like you, but my grandparents aren't letting me move to Oxford, Mississippi. That doesn't come up when you say Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Parents were sitting here this weekend saying the campus's diversity feels so great. It feels like there's no segregation, and we want that for our kid because that's the real world." The next day, Kiffin added, "I just hope my comment comes across respectful to Ole Miss. These are some things I'm saying that are factual. They're not shots. The population of Baton Rouge is about 51% black and 36% white. Oxford is about 66% white, 26% black."
Now, what are your thoughts on this, Jwill, before I have a story to tell about this?
So I don't want to argue about the actual comment. I don't want to sit here and tell you like, oh, Lane Kiffin's actually technically true because he's Arfax or anything like that. The issue I think that I have most with this is the fact that because it comes from Lane Kiffin and it comes in this context of a decision of why he left LSU. And look, we understand now, like Ole Miss doesn't care for Lane Kiffin anymore, despite the things that he did for that football program. They don't like the guy anymore, to say the least. Like, nobody in Ole Miss or Oxford, Mississippi, or who is an Ole Miss fan is a fan of Lane Kiffin anymore. So, and despite the fact that he said, and by the way, this isn't me taking a shot, this is just me presenting factual information and what played into my decision to leave the program, to me, it just comes across as another way for Lane Kiffin to stir up the fan base again. And look, and that just is because like that seems to be what Lane Kiffin does. Like that's what we know Lane Kiffin as, a guy that gets on Twitter way too much, says a lot of things that again make him this polarizing figure in the sport. And that's my whole thing with this is, yeah, you gave some factual information, but how about we just leave that in the past? We don't have to talk about this anymore. It just felt like another way to, how can I scrum up some more controversy potentially?
Yeah, this article and that particular passage of the article reminded me of a story that I have from high school. And audience, if you'll please indulge me on that, and Jay will as well, because it will take a few minutes to set the scene. I had a friend that I grew up with. He was more of an acquaintance that I grew up with throughout. Had kind of a troubled past, had a lot of things, got in a lot of trouble, was not very well liked amongst the school. For the sake of this story's purpose, we'll say his name was Blaine. Completely unrelated. So Blaine had a lot of issues growing up. He got in trouble a lot, was not very well liked by his classmates, was kind of known as, this guy's kind of a D-bag. No one really liked him. Blaine had kind of bounced around from classroom to classroom and relationship and all these things. It never really worked out. However, he found this one relationship, this one girl, and it was a pretty steady relationship, honestly, even though there were probably 9 to 10 girls in the class that were more attractive than her. It might have been a better opportunity for Blaine. They made it work, though. It was a very good couple. They had some ups and downs. There were a couple of setbacks, as you would see. But for the most part, it was a very solid relationship. And people were saying, you know what? I'm kind of coming around on this Blaine guy. I think that these two are good for each other. I think this is a match made in heaven. Time went on, and Blaine and this lady had a very excellent relationship. And this year in particular, things were going great. They had a chance to go to prom together. Neither one of them had ever been to a dance. Things happen. Now, there's another girl that I have to add to this story who is a hot mess, and emphasis on hot. Like, everyone talks about how if she just finds the right guy, she will be the hottest girl in school. Like our principal, this is how insanely hot this girl was. Our Principal Dabin, his name was Rick Dabin. He pulled us aside and said, hey, listen, I dated her mother 25 years ago, and it's the biggest regret I ever have leaving this woman. So if you have an opportunity to date this girl, you must do it. And we're all like, Principal Dabin, you had like a 17-year relationship that was extremely successful. Why are you saying this? Very interesting stuff. Regardless, this hot girl breaks up with her boyfriend eventually. Things weren't working out there. And Blaine begins to get wondering eyes. And Blaine starts looking around and starts posting weird things on his social media stories about how you got to take your own path and Bible passages and all these things, to the point where his current girlfriend's looking at him going, are we good? What's going on here? Hey, is everything all right? And Blaine's just sitting back like, yeah, we're whatever, we're fine. Then one day it happens. We're about a week out from prom and find out that Blaine has left his current girlfriend and he's not going to prom anymore. It's a shock. There's a rumor around the school, and we find out it's because he wants to spend time with his new girlfriend. He says, the way the school year went around, we couldn't make this work, and I want to take her. I want to wish her the best, and she's going to have a great time without me. I know she'll do great, but at the end of the day, I just can't go. And we all look around and say, well, our friend John is taking a way uglier girl to the dance, and he's got a date later this year, so I'm not sure why Blaine can't stay with this woman. But regardless, he's with, his new lady, the new hot one. Everyone's like, oh, power couple, dramatics. A couple weeks go by, things settle down, and someone's talking to Blaine. They're like, hey, so eventually what happened with you and this ex-girlfriend you have? Now, keep in mind, Jwill, I know this is a long story, stay with me. Blaine and this lady had stayed together for about half a decade. They had been ups and downs, and Blaine was not shy of talking about their issues. He talked about where they had deficiencies in their relationship, how things long-term might not work out, but he's happy with her now. And in all of this, he starts revealing, it's just she was a better opportunity for me. Her parents are richer. It's the dream girlfriend I've had. I talked to all my friends, and no one told me to stay with this girl that I was with to go pursue the new lady. And then we're all like, beside ourselves, like, okay, this kind of makes sense. Finally, he reveals this one other thing. He goes, and the other thing, she's kind of racist. And I'm like, what the hell? Where did this come from? He's dated this woman for half a decade, and all of a sudden, he's talking about how racist this girl is, how there's no diversity in her family, how things make her uncomfortable, how certain friends come around and are uncomfortable about the things she says. And I'm thinking to myself, Blaine's kind of right? Blaine's kind of right. There's some problematic things that this girl has said. And then you look across the room and he's like, but my new girlfriend, she's so progressive. She's the beacon of civilization. All these new things. Everyone feels so comfortable around her. And I think about it, I'm like, this girl's not much more progressive. And I know it's a long-winded story, and I say all this to go, this was never an issue for Lane Kiffin. This was never anything Lane Kiffin talked about. Can you name the governor of Mississippi right now, Jwill?
I could not.
Lane Kiffin was the most powerful man in the state of Mississippi for half a decade, and not once was segregation or racial injustices or equality or anything of those mentioned. And that's not to say Mississippi doesn't have those issues. That's not to say Louisiana doesn't. That's not to say any state in the Southeast doesn't. I find it kind of convenient that all of a sudden, after you've left Mississippi and said, talked about how great that community is for you, how great they were for your family, talked about how supportive they were when his parents passed, and all of a sudden, now it's kind of it's a troubling subject, and there's a lot of racial issues, and a lot of my recruits were uncomfortable coming there. It feels very, conveniently timed.
Yeah, that was kind of my whole point when I was like, just because the timing of this, the context that it's in, the fact that, like, we all understand, Lane, like, you know that you feel like in your heart that LSU is the better job, that that's the place that you can win a national title, that's going to grant you more success in your career. That's what you made that decision. We all knew that was the decision that you made, and that was how you felt when you signed on the dotted line to go be LSU's head football coach. We don't need you giving quotes like this of like, well, on top of that, on top of all the other things of why I chose LSU, I just feel like it's a better place to live. I just feel like it's a more connected place. There's more diversity. Like, yeah, that might be true. What you're saying might be true, but I don't feel like it's in the goodness of your heart. I don't feel like that's where that's coming from. I feel like this is just another tactic or way to throw some shade at your former program because, again, both sides, clearly there's still friction. Clearly Lane doesn't feel too hot about Ole Miss anymore. Ole Miss fans and the Ole Miss program don't feel too hot about Lane Kiffin anymore. I think it's time that we just keep moving forward. Like, the decision was made. Like, the answers were given, again, way before you had to come in front of a microphone or get in or have a sit down with Mr. Chris Smith and give all of these answers. Like, we knew the answers, man. We knew what the deal was.
This all could have been so avoided. And frankly, Lane Kiffin could have done what he did in the lead up in leading Ole Miss. We all know that was probably not the best way that was handled, and that's why he got a lot of criticism. He could have done all of these things, and all he has to do is say, hey, listen, I knew that my decision would have a lot of dissenters. I knew that some people would be very unhappy with it, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with the decision I've made. That's all you have to do, and no one's going to be throwing you under the bus for this. You're not going to catch any fire for it. I feel like this is a classic Lane Kiffin just saying too much. You don't have to justify why you left LSU or left for LSU. Everyone agrees it's probably a better job. Everyone agrees that there's more opportunities. The way you left it might have been a little questionable, but that's not the issue. I think if Lane Kiffin just said, you know what, it was a better opportunity for me, and I'm happy with the decision I made, you're not going to catch any flack for it.
My question to you is, like, we're in a portion of Lane Kiffin's career, like, again, like the article mentions, he's bounced around from a lot of places, from Tennessee, Ole Miss, USC, the Oakland Raiders, now Las Vegas Raiders. There was a stint there, the Alabama Crimson Tide, Florida Atlantic's head coach. Say that Lane Kiffin ends his career. His career is over whenever that time is. Lane Kiffin is retiring. There is no national title to his name. All right, you can make of whatever type of success he still has. He could win for a long time at LSU. Doesn't ever win a national title. Who will claim this man? What fan base at the end of the road is going to plant their flag and cheer on Lane Kiffin past his lifetime as a head football coach?
That's a fantastic question.
Like, Florida Atlantic fans, I'm sure that they were satisfied with how his time down there was. I mean, in 3 seasons, he won 2 conference titles. I'm sure Alabama fans are pretty thankful for what he did for that offense during his time with Alabama, but even that ended on a rocky footstep somewhat because it was kind of like, all right, dude, we get it. You're leaving us. Go ahead and go. We'll finish out the season without you. So despite how great and successful their offense was at Alabama during his time there, like, will a majority of them still be cheering on Lane Kiffin after this? Ole Miss fans, we know how they feel. USC fans have no reason to. Tennessee fans threw things at the man last time he was in that stadium. So who's going to claim him?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly burned basically every bridge that he's ever crossed, which, you know, that's his choice, that's his decision, that's his prerogative. But I mean, you're right, and I don't think that's anything that concerns Lane Kiffin. He obviously thinks that LSU is where is the final spot for him, is the final place for his career. I'm sure he plans and intends on having a 10, 15-year stint there and calling it quits and winning multiple national championships. But no, you're right. If things don't go well in LSU, he does not have a fan base to hang his hat on. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's what he's doing it for.
No, and he talks about that in the article about how this is his story. It's his journey. He gets to make the decisions and decide how the story is told and what steps the story takes. So, I mean, to his own credit, he kind of takes that thought process. That it seems to be what his own thought process is in all of this.
I think the most annoying part for me, and this is not to talk about anything racial for that, this is not what this show is about. Lane Kiffin had stints in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Knoxville, Tennessee. He was in Florida. He's been in California twice. He's been in Oakland. Like, the idea that right now is when we're talking about those issues and we're bringing up how that was a problem for you and hindering your ability as a coach is like, it feels very selective in my opinion. And like, it's like, oh, well, I'm just speaking about the facts. Like,
yeah, I mean, he really pinpointed it to them. And again, it might be factual information, but to me, it just kind of came across as another opportunity to throw shade at your former program, which, by the way, the article says he will not say Ole Miss. He will say at my last stop where I was previously. He won't even say when I was a head coach at Ole Miss. He just kind of keeps it pushing and acts like, oh, that didn't really happen in my opinion. I don't want to be associated with them anymore because I don't have to be. I'm an LSU Tiger. Well, while we're on the topic of this, well, actually, you had a preference here. Did you want to talk about Will the long-term benefit for a team to win a national title, or did you want to go with another one of our lists?
Let's do get off the mat. I think that's
off the mat.
I think that's a fun one to talk about. How, because this was me racking my brain for previous football games and watching, like, man, this team used to be so good, or wow, this team was ranked in the top 10 years ago. So I'll let you introduce the segment, Jwill.
All right, get off the mat is nice and simple. These are teams that we would like to see be successful again, or maybe you just like to see be successful right now, maybe disregarding all previous history, even if this program doesn't exactly have a history of being successful. These are just teams that we would like to see be good right now. So my first get off the mat team, I think it's a nice and easy one, a good introduction to this, Florida State, and especially right now. Florida, it's TBD at the moment. I know how Brooks feels about John Summerall. He says all of the right things. He's doing good things. Recruiting trail momentum is at an all-time high right now with the Florida Gators. Saw some good things in the spring game. Very talented roster. Seems like they might be on the up from where it was with Billy Napier. We know the deal with Miami at the moment. I mean, they are one of the top contenders in college football at the moment after their success last season. Doesn't seem like they're going anywhere. If you could get the trifecta of Florida State, Florida, and Miami all competing at the same time in the Sunshine State, I think it would be absolute cinema. And also for the fact of, I think it's good for the ACC and certainly good for that conference to have more than just one school, it seems like, every single year that you're kind of hanging your hat on of like, well, Miami's good this year. Well, Clemson carried us for the last 10 years. Florida State, when they're good, it just provides overall health for the conference.
I'll say it, and Miami fans can attack me. I've seen a top 5 Florida State team in the last 5 years, and I've seen a top 5 Miami team in the last 5 years. The Florida State fan base is much more exciting when Florida State's good. And look, I understand that Miami has some hardships with it. The stadium's 45 minutes away. You share it with an NFL team. They tore down the Orange Bowl. I get it. But Florida State, when that team is good and that fan base has something to be excited about, it's more enjoyable than Miami. That's not a slight to the fan base, but that's just my preference. I would say I'd take Florida State being good over Miami. I'd prefer that. I'd also take Florida being good. They're one of my get-off-the-mat teams. Like, I remember, and we know what we are as this show. We're Georgia fans. I remember as a kid not only having hate in my heart for the Florida Gators because of how good they were, but fearing them. I remember playing Florida. I was like, oh, God. Maybe we have a chance of losing by one score this year. Like, Florida being that good and that dominant needs to be back in college football because they were a powerhouse at one point. And I know that we talk about how maybe they aren't necessarily the program that everyone builds them up to be as a top 5 job or whatever, but when they're at their best, they're a scary football team.
Absolutely. My next one on the list, how about Baylor? Now, again, this isn't necessarily maybe a team that has a long, consistent history of being successful. They had their run with RG3. They were in the mix for some Big 12 championships just a few years ago. For whatever reason, I just feel like it's aesthetically pleasing when Baylor is one of the top schools, and you want to talk about providing some competitiveness in a conference. The Big 12 needs it right now desperately because it seems like for now, for the foreseeable future, we're just going to be handing it out to Texas Tech every offseason. We're going to be talking about the Red Raiders, how they're the front runner. Somebody has to topple them. It looked like it was going to be Arizona State, but don't know where that's headed at the very moment. It seemed like it was really trajecting in a positive direction, and then it kind of slipped off last year. And now Texas Tech is the new big toy out there. So if we could get Baylor, I don't know. I thought they were such a fun when they are fun to watch, when Baylor is good, they are just an enjoyable team, in my opinion, to turn the TV on at 7:30 p.m. at night and watch a good football game.
I just miss when the Big 12 was that in general of, man, I don't really know much about these two teams that's going to play today. It's, an unranked school playing the number 23 team in the country. Neither of them have national title aspirations, but, man, this is an entertaining football game, and the final score is 45-32, like a high-scoring, high-octane football game. For that reason, I have Oklahoma State on this list. I feel like peak Mike Gundy era was watching Oklahoma State peak at number 8, number 7, probably lose to Oklahoma and Bedlam, but other than that, it's a very, very fun team to watch. I miss when they were good. Seeing Oklahoma State go 2-10 the last few years hasn't been a lot of fun.
Yeah, just a few years ago, there was a lot of conversation around Oklahoma State because of one Ollie Gordon. That guy was putting up record performances, and then there was a quick fall off there.
I think the last great moments we had of the Big 12 were in 2021 when Oklahoma State and Baylor were in the Big 12 championship and they had that goal line stand that like
dang near made a playoff.
Yeah, stuff like that is what you need from the Big 12. Like, yes, Texas Tech running through everyone's great. That's good for them, but it's not as exciting. It's not as interesting.
Oh, it's certainly not exciting. Like, again, as I mentioned earlier, it kind of sucks that when we look at the Big 12 right now, and again, this is before Texas Tech made a playoff, we were just kind of handing it out to one team, and that's all we're kind of putting all of our attention towards. Would love to see some other teams get in the mix. Oklahoma State, Baylor, one of those teams would be fantastic. And how about this one? How about Hawaii?
Ooh. So I remember the Colt Brennan season.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I would say,
okay.
I would say that's the last time they were kind of nationally relevant. They were a team that everybody was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that was a incredibly fun season. I don't view Hawaii as like this program, though, that like continues success. Like, I don't remember like
– No, yeah.
I more like miss that Hawaii team. I missed that season, but I don't remember thinking like, man, I miss when Hawaii
Well,
was
maybe
fun.
we just get like a good 3-year run with them. Like they just kind of nail a few recruiting classes for the next 3 years. Hawaii's being mentioned as one of the G5 bids in the playoff, you know. Could be rather interesting.
Give me a 9-3 Hawaii that just upsets 2 or 3 Big 12 teams.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Like if it feels like the only time I care about Hawaii football is the week 0 when they are always playing week 0 and they're the final game of the night, and I'm watching it because it's college football. It's the first college football that I've gotten in the last 4 months, so I have to stay up and watch this. Maybe I'd like that to be a more consistent occurrence throughout my college football viewing throughout the season.
All right, here's one that I don't need this team to be national title contending, conference title contending, but I miss when the Wisconsin Badgers were a guaranteed 9-3 and they'd have a running back that finished 5th in the Heisman Finals voting and would give you 1,500 yards. Like, that is peak Wisconsin football, a team that would just bludgeon you. Might upset Ohio State, could get at Penn State every now and then. If Michigan's good, they're a problem. But I miss a Wisconsin that you look down the schedule and go, ooh, they might get him there. That's all I need from Wisconsin. I don't need you to compete for the Big Ten championship. I don't need you to be nationally relevant. I don't need you to be a national title team. Just be a top 15, maybe top 10 team that has a running back that will just give you 1,500 yards a season.
Virginia Tech is my next one. Again, kind of adding back to what I was mentioning with Florida State. Now, Florida State has been one of the powerhouses in that conference for quite a long time. But Virginia Tech, for whatever reason, and I think it has to do with the fact that they put on a great home game environment when they are good. Maybe James Franklin is able to elevate that program back to that type of standard. But Virginia Tech at its peak, at least in my lifetime, they were just the perfect team to watch throughout the season as the potential upset team, the team that was going to break somebody's heart at some point in the season. They were competitive. They were fun to watch. Again, the home game environment was fantastic to watch through a TV screen. I just feel like that they are a fun team to be relevant, to be in the mix, to be ranked in the top 25, and just they're an easy team to root for is basically what I'm saying. Like if the Hokies have a potential to upset a team higher up in the rankings, nobody in the world has a problem rooting for them. Of course, for some other people, but like nobody has, for the most part, has an issue with rooting for the Hokies on Saturdays, I would say.
No, I was just saying, I miss when Virginia Tech was a scrappy team that you didn't want to play. Like, I don't think Virginia Tech's ever, like, I wasn't around to see the Michael Vick era. I wasn't around to see, oh, wow, they're competing for national titles. But a fun team that was nationally relevant, absolutely, I would love to see Virginia Tech get off the mat. Another team that I have, and this is a team that I think peaked in the early 2010s. Dude, do you remember the Geno Smith, West Virginia era?
Oh, absolutely.
That was the peak of West Virginia football. And I know that they've had some decent seasons after that. They haven't been a complete, in the trash dumpster fire. But when Geno Smith had that team as a top 15 team, and they were a high-flying offense, and even in the late 2000s when they were running the triple option, stuff like that, I miss that type of West Virginia team because that fan base is dormant. Like, they are one of the more underrated fan bases in the country. So, definitely would love to see West Virginia get off the mat.
Go ahead and give me another one while I change the title. Quite embarrassing that I didn't change that. Thank you, chat, for giving a heads up on that.
I've been reading the chat, and I realize now that this one is probably going to get me some flack, but Auburn. I think Auburn is a much more fun team. The SEC is much more fun. The Iron Bowl is a much more exciting matchup when you get to the end of the season and both of those teams are inside the top 10. Now, obviously, Auburn has had some struggles the last 5-6 years since they fired Gus Malzahn. Auburn is a more fun program when they are perennially 8-4 instead of 6-6. That's all I'll say on that. Not an Auburn fan.
Tad ironic that you would mention Auburn in the mix, Kirby. Are you rooting for the Auburn Tigers to be good again? Is that what you want?
Not because I think I like Auburn, but because it makes the SEC better. I think it is a more entertaining conference when Auburn and Alabama are two really solid teams.
I must say, you make it hard to beat the allegations, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
When it comes to any allegations, you kind of make it a little hard, it seems, to beat any of them. But maybe that's just you.
You make one prediction one time, and all of a sudden, you're the Auburn guy.
Yeah, how dare you go against the Georgia Bulldogs? How dare you try and be unbiased?
Despite the fact that the host of the show said, I'm never picking Georgia again when they play Alabama.
Throwing shots at the man when he's not even here to defend himself?
That's not a shot. That's a fact. Shout out Lane Kiffin.
The final team I have on my list, and I kind of almost just wanted to make this a broader statement, but ultimately I went with just one team. But part of me wanted to just say one of the California teams. Like Stanford had a run there where they were really good. They were competitive. They were top 10 ranked team. Andrew Luck, Christian McCaffrey, those times of the year, they were really good during that portion of the year. USC has been a sleeping giant, I guess, as some would claim it, for the past 15, 20 years. It seems like they just kind of slowly creeping and crawling their way back up to the top potentially. They were hoping it was going to be Lincoln Riley that got them there. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe it happens this year or maybe it happens next year. Who knows? Or UCLA had a run there too with Josh Rosen where they were nationally relevant. Just one of those teams, if they could just get a grasp of being the top team in the state. Like if they just go on a run and it's known that UCLA under Coach Chesney is the best team in the state of California, or Lincoln Riley finally figured it out with the USC Trojans, or Stanford of all teams in the ACC on the West Coast, they were able to figure out. I mean, it's hard to imagine that they wouldn't just captivate everything within that state. I mean, it's one of the top highly recruited states every single year. It's weird that we go into college football seasons, it seemed like, and when we talk about the playoffs and when we talk about the overall story of this next college football season, that we don't include a team from that state, it seems like. It's just weird to me. I think somebody needs to do it. I ultimately chose UCLA because I kind of dig their jerseys. I like Coach Chesney. They got some momentum on the recruiting trail.
When Lincoln Riley went to USC in 2022 and they won the Heisman with Caleb Williams, and they had a good season, they made the Pac-12 championship, got smoked by Utah, I legitimately thought, I was like, all right, they're turning a new leaf over there. That is going to be a fun team to watch from here on out. They're probably not a national championship team. I never bought Lincoln Riley as a national championship coach. But they're going to be a lot more fun. It's going to be a lot more entertaining. And it's just fallen flat ever since. But no, I agree. Having one of those seems like everyone talks about how legendary the 2005 the Reggie Bush USC team, the Matt Leinart USC teams, legendary. You had celebrities littering the sidelines for those teams. Like now they cover the sections of their stands to make it look like they're not empty.
Rough.
Like that team being nationally relevant again and that team being the pinnacle of college football, I don't think it'll ever happen again. But getting somewhere close to that would be great for the sport. All right, I've got one more team on this list that I would love to see get off the mat.
All right, go ahead and hit
it's
me with
weird
it.
because this is a team that played for a national championship in this era. Like the last 5 years, they've been in the national title game. But I'm not talking about that TCU. The TCU Horned Frogs of the 2014-2015 era, I'm talking Trayvon Boykin TCU. I'm talking Josh Dotson TCU, dude. When they would score 60 points on someone and then lose by 30 the next week, somehow find a way to go 10-2 and then upset someone in the Rose Bowl. That's the TCU I want back. I want back that version of TCU. I don't need a Cinderella story TCU with Max Duggan somehow scrapping away to a national title. Just give me a solid 10-2 team that's so fun to watch.
Man, you're really speaking to middle school me right now, because growing up as a kid, for whatever reason, and probably a lot of it did have to do with Boykin at the time, but TCU is my team on college football. On the video games, that was the team that I always picked for whatever reason to start a dynasty. In fact, I did it this past year on the latest one as well. Maybe that had to do with my Josh Hoover affinity. I don't know. But for whatever reason, I just really like TCU. So I'm with you there.
Okay, so I'm kind of wondering, I just want to vet out this take with you. Are there less, quote-unquote, fun college football teams than there were 10 years ago? Or are we just nostalgic? Or are we just living in the old time?
I don't know. Define fun for me.
Like It doesn't matter what the record is. It doesn't matter what the title aspirations are. If that team's playing in a game against another team like that, you're going to tune it. Like TCU Baylor in 2014, I didn't care about either of those teams. I was a SEC fan. I was a Georgia fan growing up, but I was going to watch that game because it was entertaining. I don't know if there's as many of those matchups now. This could be a completely out of left field take, but I don't know. That's just how I feel looking at this list.
I don't know. Like, do you think that maybe has to do with the fact of like childhood innocence?
Could be.
Like just you as a kid, like you gravitate towards different things. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, there's probably going to be a kid or a college age adult 10, 15 years from now that goes, man, I miss the Deion Sanders Colorado era. That was a fun team. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, that was a fun team to watch. And they were fun 2 years ago, so I don't know.
It's probably a take I need to think about more because I don't want to agree or disagree right now. I would rather just think about it more and then deliver a take because I want to say yes, but I feel like I'm probably just overlooking a lot of things and maybe being a little naive in the current state. I do want to get to a super chub that we had earlier. Marcy Rain, I would like for you to let us first know how you say your last name. You super chub way too much around here for us to be mispronouncing your name. She says, I need an address to send baby gifts to. I see that a lot of people are asking for a P.O. box. I don't have a P.O. box. Maybe that's something that we as a show need to eventually set up. I don't know. But what I do have is we do have a baby registry, and if you would like that link, if you want to DM me, I have my email and my Twitter account. If you would like to email me and get that link, I will happily send it to you. But please do not feel obligated to do any of that. My wife and I have been very blessed with a lot of gifts, a lot of generous people in our lives that have given us many gifts. So please don't feel obligated to do that. But I, of course, do love and appreciate hearing you guys show love towards me and my family. So I appreciate that. And we appreciate you, Marcy, as well.
Joe, we've got 15 minutes left in the show.
We do. It's kind of flown by already. And we have a lot of topics that we haven't gotten to.
Do you want to hash it out?
Let's hash it out for 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
I'm kind of excited for this segment. So I'll lead into it. It's a part of the season where sometimes you just got to deliver a take. It might not be relevant to anything that's going on right now. It might be about something that's a long time ago. It might be something minuscule as hell. It might not have any weight, but you got to deliver that take, and we're going to deliver a take and hash it out whether or not we agree or disagree. So I'll get it started, Jwill. I hate the fact that schools like Alabama or Penn State or any of these ordinary Jersey schools get put in the top 5 best jerseys. I think that the fact that they have made those styles iconic is great. I think that Alabama has owned the numbers on the helmet. I think that Penn State owns the whiteout. The jerseys are objectively not cool. If a high school team walked out with those, no one would say, man, those are really cool jerseys. All they would say is, that looks like Penn State. That looks like Alabama. The jerseys are not top 5.
Yeah, I think that we get confused with like long-standing tradition and like an actual appealing jersey. Like Alabama and Penn State have great tradition. It's great that you've held on to that tradition for so long. But objectively, not two of the greatest uniforms I would say that we have in college football. Objectively, I agree with you on that one. I'm not going to go as far as to say, like, I'm going to be mad at you if you say Penn State has a top 10 jersey, but I might look at you a little funny, and I'm definitely going to disagree because I think there's so many other better jerseys and more creative jerseys than the ones that Alabama or Penn State rock. So
thank you.
I'll agree with you there. My first one. I hate, and I'm sure that this is one that we've discussed on the show before, but I have to rehash it out here. I hate that game manager has become a slight against quarterbacks. And I don't know when this started. It feels like it started around the Jake Fromm era. I'm sure it happened before that. But we have gotten to a point now where a game manager as a quarterback is considered a bad thing. Like if your quarterback is a game manager, that it's a slight against him, and I don't understand why, especially in college football. And I understand that there's a whole lot of flair if you don't have a game manager. Like there's a whole lot to love about a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson or one of those people. But there's a whole lot of value in having a quarterback as well that plays on time, stays on schedule, knows where the ball is supposed to go, can read a defense, like understands the position at the highest level that you possibly can. And historically, I would say that leads to a lot of wins as well. Like Jake Fromm won a lot of football games. Julian Sain's going to win a lot of football games at Ohio State. I don't understand why when you want to throw shade at a quarterback, it's like, oh, well, he's just a game manager. Well, game managers are really – I would say Tom Brady was a pretty dang good game manager, but nobody wants to say that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with this take, and I think it's one that Cam Newton has kind of inflated with the game changer and game manager debate. You're absolutely right, though. there is a lot of flack that comes with, the term game manager. And I think it kind of the interpretation I get from it is that it means you're limited, which quarterbacks traditionally were limited players. They weren't, the best athletes on the field. They didn't used to be the best athletes on the field. I think that's basically what it means. But a game manager is anywhere near someone who can affect the game. And the weird part about it is like guys like Matthew Stafford or Matt Ryan or other guys like that were known as game changers, where they elevated teams. I don't understand what a true game manager is. Now, I get the idea of, hey, this is a quarterback where as long as you do everything right, as long as you play within your system, we'll win the game because the pieces around you are good enough. That's fine. I don't think that should be a derogatory thing. I don't think not wrecking the car should be something that you didn't look cool enough while driving it, or you weren't the one who made the difference.
Yeah, and see, look, chat's even questioning me calling Tom Brady a game manager when my interpretation of it, of what people would say is a game manager, is what Tom Brady was. In my understanding of the definition of that is a guy that knows exactly where the ball is supposed to go, always plays on time, always stays ahead of the sticks, just leads an efficient offense, and maybe it doesn't look the flashiest of anybody, but he gets the job done every single time just about, and it puts up efficient numbers. I would say Tom Brady did that for his entire career, and in my opinion, I would call that a game manager, and still is the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, that's how I would put it.
Yeah, I think there's also such a gray line of what's a game manager, what's a game changer, so you're right. I think it is a derogatory. It's a backhanded compliment of ways. My next take, and this one is only going to hit home for Florida State fans, but I feel very, very strongly about it. Florida State deserves everything bad that's happening to it because they've gone and cursed themselves with that horrendous logo change. And it's a subtle logo change, and it was one that was completely unnecessary that did not need to happen. If you don't know, go look up the old school Florida State logo and the new one. The new one has been modernized. It's been changed just a little bit. It's still very much the same sentiment, but it's been changed enough, and it's cursed. I think you can look at the exact timeline of when that new logo was introduced to the downfall of the Florida State program. So that is a take I feel very strongly about.
Just that little subtle change, you think?
Yeah, dude.
Maybe timeline-wise, it could be attributed to that, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm hopping on board with that one. Now, this one might be one of my most passionate takes that I have, and it's really sparked up over the last few years, but it's been a thing in college football for quite a long time. Conference fandom is a joke.
Yes.
I'm not even just talking about the people that root for their conference to do well, of like, oh, the SEC's in a bowl game, I'm rooting for them no matter who it is, or this Big Ten team's in a bowl game, I'm always rooting for the Big Ten. I'm also talking about the people that want to go to tooth and nail for their own conference, where they want to say, oh, the Big Ten is so much better. Like, me as a Michigan State fan, if I were a Michigan State fan and I'm hopping on social media or I'm in a conversation with somebody and I want to talk about how Michigan and Ohio State and have won the last few national titles, or Indiana's also won the last national title. Why? Why would I, as a Michigan State fan, want to go out there and flaunt the success of other teams in my conference who I'm competing against every single year in whatever sport you want to talk about? I would rather you, as a fan, just say, all right, I'm a fan of Michigan State, and all I care about is if my team does well. I don't give a crap about what Ohio State does or what my conference does. At the end of the day, did my Spartans win? Did my Spartans win the national title? Did we do well today? Who gives a crap about the rest of it? Like, I don't understand this at all, and it makes me so frustrated I don't care about anything else. I just care about how my team did that day. To hell with the conference.
The thing I find most humorous about this is that the teams lobbying for their conferences are the ones at the top. The Ohio State's battle with the Georgias and the Alabamas about who's better, the Big Ten or the SEC. Oregon's battling with Texas fans about which conference is more superior, which, by the way, both of those teams have joined the conferences recently. It's not like they're deeply embedded into these traditions. I find it so funny because you are right. It is usually the halves. Like if a Minnesota fan came to Twitter and was like, hey, the Big Ten's way better than the SEC, everyone would look at them and go, shut up. No one's talking about you. You're not included in this argument. It's such a territorial debate when it doesn't need to be. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I don't give a damn about the Big Ten. I'm not cheering for the Big Ten in non-conference games. I'm not cheering for the Big Ten when they play in bowl games. I care about Ohio State. And honestly, I'm cheering against Big Ten teams because I'd rather see Michigan lose against Texas than win. I don't care about the conference. I don't know why people get so enthralled in this, like their validation as a football team is tied up in whether or not their conference is good. If the Big 12 and the ACC want to have these arguments, they don't even have a chance because they're obviously number 2 and 3 on the list. If the Big 10 and the SEC want to have this battle, they can go ahead, but I don't understand why the big dogs are fighting the battle for it. Let Vanderbilt argue with Michigan State for who the best conference is. We don't need Georgia and Ohio State fans fighting. We don't need Texas and Oregon or USC and Alabama. Those teams need to worry about themselves. You're absolutely right on this, Jwill.
Because, again, like at the end of the day, like if an SEC team had won the national title this past season, let's say Georgia won the national title this year, Alabama fans are not going to be happy probably, like to themselves, in their heart of hearts, they're not going to be happy that Georgia won the national title. But then you guys are going to go out there and throw it in front of Big Ten fans' faces and say, oh, yeah, SEC still runs this thing. We're still the best conference in college football. Who cares? Your team did not win the national title, so why would you care?
Yeah, it's one of the more stupid arguments I've ever seen. You're absolutely right. I've got another jersey take for you, Jwill. And this one I also feel passionate about. We talked about how some jerseys are way too bland to get the credit for. Oregon. I think it is awesome that you guys have a new jersey every week. I think it's awesome that you guys have an alternative or a new theme that you do. I think it's honestly impressive that you've been able to do this for what they've been doing the new jerseys every week thing for about 20 years, wouldn't you say, Jwill? Mm-hmm. For about 20 years, you've had a new jersey for every single game, a theme, something like that. It's damn impressive. Can we get one jersey? Just one jersey where you say, this is our base jersey? No, hear me out. You can still do the new jersey every week. You can still do it, but point to the one jersey and go, hey, this is the base jersey we have. When you say, what's the Oregon Ducks jersey, you can say this. We're still going to do all the alternatives. We're still going to do all the new ones. But to the point where Oregon doesn't have a look. Oregon's look is we have no look. I would appreciate it very much if Oregon had one base jersey for the season where they said, hey, this is the jersey this year, and we're still going to do 15 other ones for the season, but we have one base one that we can identify and we can rally behind. I don't know if that's a take you agree with, but I feel strongly about that.
No, I mean, as soon as you said it of Oregon's look, when I think about Oregon's look, I immediately was like, well, do I go with the Justin Herbert era or do I go with the Marcus Mariota era?
Exactly.
Or, I can't figure out. I can envision what the base Oregon uniform would look like and what I immediately associate and think of for them. But you're right. I mean, they have too many looks to the point of I don't know what the base look is, and that's their thing though. They don't have one. They have so many of them. They don't have a base look.
I get it. Look, it's super unique. It's one of the things that makes college football so fun and great, and that fan base absolutely deserves it. And it's very cool. I'm just saying, can we get one look that we can point to and identify and say, hey, this is what the normal Oregon Ducks jersey looks like, even though we're doing alternatives every week? I'm just saying.
All right, my final one. I want to make sure I get this one in here. The one that I really want to talk about. A team's record is such an overrated stat when it comes to the Heisman. When we are talking about the individual success of a player, are they the greatest player in college football that season? I don't want to talk about the record. Same way when you want to talk about pitchers in baseball, I don't care what the pitcher's win-loss record is because that pitcher could have gone 8 strikeouts with 1 earned run, 2 hits, and 1 walk and still lose the game because his team wasn't hitting. And then when it got to the bullpen, they flared up and burst into flames, and they ultimately lost the game. I don't want to talk about whether or not a quarterback's team is 12-0 or 6-6 that season. If they were the greatest player in that college football season, they were the greatest player. There's so many other factors in football, so many other people on a team that we can't just put one player on a pedestal and say, yeah, he threw for 5,000 yards and he threw for 30 touchdowns, but his team was 7-5 this year, whereas this other guy that had just a tad worse stats this past season, he went 10-2 this year. So I think that he had the better season. His team had the better season, but when we're talking about the Heisman Trophy, again, awarded to the best player that season, to hell with the records. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the individual success of that player.
I love this take and completely agree. And it's interesting to me because so much is tied up in the record when it comes to college football playoff selections. And people complain about that. Oh, everyone looks at the record first. That's the most important metric, yada, yada, yada. The voters, the committee, the Heisman Trophy, people who vote on that, have the decision to look at the sport and go, hey, this is the best player in the sport. This guy is the best football player in the sport, regardless of what his team is doing, regardless of what the record is. And to the voters' credit, I think they've gotten it right for the most part as of recent. I don't think Fernando Mendoza was the best player in college football last year, even though he won the Heisman. He was probably the most deserving of it. I think Travis Hunter was probably the best player in college football that year. You could make the argument for Ashton Genty. I think winning Travis Hunter was fine. I think that the guy who won it before, Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels, despite the fact that LSU went 9-3 that season, I think the fact that he won the Heisman as well, they've kind of been getting it right and have been making it more of a priority to, hey, this guy is very obviously a better football player than the team that's undefeated over here. But you're absolutely right. There is still way too much validity tied up in record. There is still too much, oh, well, this guy's undefeated and on the best team and he's the quarterback of the undefeated team. He's a finalist. I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm just really all I'm saying is that shouldn't be at the forefront of the argument when we're talking about Heisman winners. It shouldn't be that his team went undefeated this season. Like, that's great. And typically when you are the greatest player in college football, your team also has success. I just don't think that should be one of the top things that we should consider when we're talking about, again, it's an individual award. We're talking about an individual season. Who was the greatest player that season? I don't think that we should be focusing on the team record that year.
All right, I know we're going to cut into the local hour a little bit with this one, but this is my last take, and I want to hash this out with you because I feel very strongly about it. Mo Bamba's overrated.
The basketball player?
The song.
Oh.
I think, and by the way, the Michigan video is not, it's edited. Yes, they walked out to Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba was not playing the entire time Penn State was trying to run a playoff. I think that's a very cool video. I think that's a great moment. I think that displays what's great about college football. I don't think that song needs to be played every time an opposing team takes the field. It has lost some of its shine of, oh, Mo Bamba's on. Can we not get our own songs? Can we not get a different song for our crowd to be cheered up for? I think that it's a little bit of an overrated song, and trying to get it to rally it's grown old very quickly, and it's only half a decade old.
Well, now I'm putting the task on you. You need to find the new Mo Bamba. You got to find the new song that replaces Mo Bamba for college football teams.
Okay.
You're one of these musically diverse people. Go out there and find the new Mo Bamba and put a stop to it. Teams no longer can play Mo Bamba because this is the next great song. But I agree. It's very overplayed. I think it's done its time. I think it had its moment in the spotlight. Let's maybe shift away from it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I believe that concludes the National Hour. We'll see you on the other side when we talk that dog.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Why can't we just yell at the team? We don't just sing a song to them?
Or every team just needs their own song.
Sure, like the Enter Sandman's great. That's cool. Some teams like have their own song that they cheer, but like Mo Bamba being played does not move the needle for me anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, they're playing this stadium's rocking right now. And college football 25 ruined that too. Oh my God.
Yeah.
We're in the local hour, by the way.
We are in the local hour, so we're going to talk that dog for you guys if you're just now tuning in. No, Brooks is not here, hence why I'm sitting at the boss's desk tonight, and Christian over there as well, of course. So we're going to hit a lot of topics for you guys. On the forefront tonight, we're going to be kind of hashing out some of the latest recruiting news for the Bulldogs, some of the decommits that they've had. Seems like they're kind of losing some momentum. We're going to try and explain those things as best as we can. We're going to play a little game where we're going to what should the narrative really be around this player? We're going to take a player, kind of discuss what the current narrative around this player is, and maybe reshape it a little bit, give it a more accurate, at least in our eyes, an accurate perception of what it actually should be. We're also going to continue playing our player. Name that play that you think of when you hear that player's name. We're going to give a shout-out to the Diamond Dogs as well because they deserve it. Top 5 things we love most about Athens in the summertime. And then we're going to give a little shout-out to of a person that we love closely, and a lot of you guys love closely as well, potentially at the end of the show as well. But first and foremost, let's talk about the recent recruiting news, Kirby. So, to recap everything, Georgia loses a commit in Jerry House Jr. He quickly commits to the UCLA Bruins.
Right.
Recently, they lost Dante Wright, a 5-star cornerback who was kind of flirting around for a little bit. Didn't seem like it was going to be hard for Georgia to hold on to that one. He flips to the Miami Hurricanes. They also lost Aiden Starling, a wide receiver. Seems like he's on the forefront of maybe choosing another SEC program based on the latest rumblings. They lose out on Andrew Beard to the Florida Gators last week as well. A lot of bad, it seems like, on the recruiting trail for Georgia at the moment, and it seems like maybe there might be some panic in the Georgia fan base. Not all of you, maybe some of you at least, of like, man, what the heck is going on? It feels like the walls are crumbling all around us. What's going on? Can we explain it? Yeah. So, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think taking this case by case is the best way to do this, because you're right. Looking at it as a whole, it's like, what are we going to do? Georgia's got, 5-6 commitments on their class right now. They're ranked 30th in the country. Like, this is not a Kirby Smart class. It's time to hit the panic button. It's time to freak out. I don't know. We just lost another 5-star to Miami. It seems like Miami's able to outbuy us everywhere we go, left and right. Let's talk about Dante Wright first.
Yeah.
You live in an era of college football where if it's June, May, summer months, and players are kind of shopping around, looking at ideas and talking to, the big spenders, you're probably not going to get that kid because, one, his priorities are something that you don't align with. Money is never going to be the reason you go to the University of Georgia. It's just not. We've talked about this before. If you want to go to the University of Georgia and make money, you do that in the NFL when you get developed and you turn into an NFL player. It's hard to say no to the upfront money. We understand. No shade to Dante Wright, but that's probably not why you're going to go to the University of Georgia.
Well, and from my understanding, too, of this situation, when it was being talked about of Dante Wright potentially flipping from Georgia, it seemed like Oregon was leading the race, and Oregon was probably going to be the team that ultimately flips him. And then it was the Miami Hurricanes. And now Dante Wright has said he shut down his recruitment. Take that information however you will. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, that's recruiting. And unfortunately, that's a lot of reason why a lot of people tell us now that you don't care about recruiting. And I get it. I mean, it's tiring. It's not the way it used to be. It seems like a lot of this just ultimately boils down to who can fork over the biggest paycheck. It's just the era that we're in right now. And we know the deal with Georgia. They're going to pay. They're going to pay their players respectively. They're not going to completely lowball players. But more times than not, they're probably not going to be the team that's offering the biggest check. Sometimes it's going to create some players to leave the class, go commit elsewhere, and do whatever they feel is best for them. And ultimately it is their decision, and that's what they can do.
And by the way, this isn't to say Georgia doesn't have money or Georgia can't spend with the best of them, but if it's the middle of summer and we've got July, August, we've got the entire regular season to go before your pen hits paper and you're already talking about, this team's offering me different deals or I'm kind of flirty with it, they're probably not going to keep you unless you are a must-have, cannot miss, cannot lose this guy. And again, no shade to Dante Wright. I think if Georgia felt like they could not lose him, they would probably put forth more resources to ensure that he stays. Is that crazy to say?
No, I don't think it's crazy to say. I mean, again, though, it's just it all depends on the player. Like whatever he wants to put as the emphasis in his recruitment, whatever decision he wants to make, they have the free will to make that decision. And Dante Wright feels like the Miami Hurricanes are a better fit for him, and that's that. It looks like that's what it's going to be for him. So good on him. Hopefully it plays out well for him.
The next one that happened this week was Andrew Beard announced his commitment to the Florida Gators, a team that has a lot of momentum right now. John Summerall's got that thing rolling. There's a lot of recruiting momentum.
Absolutely.
Andrew Beard is we can call him a legacy player.
Yeah.
He's related to Garrison Hurst. Ultimately decides he's going to go to a rival school. Feels like a stab in the heart. Has anyone checked the players that are committed to Georgia's 2027 class?
Yeah, I was going to say, first and foremost, this isn't us giving you intel on why Andrew Beard chose the Florida Gators or why he didn't choose Georgia. But if we just we're just looking at context clues here, and the context clues are Georgia has 2 running backs that are committed in this class, one of which is a 5-star in Keemon Spell, and the other one is a really talented back in Noah Parker in the state of Georgia that they jumped on very early into the process, and he's currently committed right now. So they already have 2 in the class. And I don't want to put words in Andrew Beard's mouth or anything like that, but maybe Andrew wanted to be the headliner of a running back class for another team, and I'm sure Florida was able to maybe, counter-recruit George a little bit and you're not even their main guy, dude. They already got their main guy. They got Keemon Spell. They got the nation's best running back already. Why do you want to go be second trumpet to him instead of being the main guy in our class. And I'm sure that's what they spoke to him about and what they offered him. So he goes to the Florida Gators. So, yeah, it sucks losing a legacy, as we'll call it, the nephew of Garrison Hurst. But as I just said with Dante Wright, like, you got to make the decision that's best for you. Maybe Andrew Beard felt like the Florida Gators were the best decision for him.
Yeah, and that's one where you look at it and you kind of go, all right, that makes sense. I don't think you should be worried about, we're getting outspent, or, Florida's getting more momentum, or, like, this is Georgia had their guys already. And you know, yeah, it would have been great to get another one, but the more guys you already have in your class, the less enticing it is for players at that position.
Yeah.
So I think we've hit all the major news points.
Well, I do want to say, I do think Georgia's going to take 3 running backs, though. I think there is a real possibility that they do take 3 backs in this class. Just on the sole fact of this, Nate Frazier, Dante Dowdell, and Chauncey Bowens all draft eligible after this season.
Yep.
And one of which has to go in Dante Dowdell. So you're guaranteed to lose 1. It seems like you're definitely going to lose 2 with Nate Frazier. And then it's kind of a coin toss on what happens with Chauncey Bowens. If he has another great season, there's a good chance he goes ahead and hops to the league. We have already talked about Jerry Outhouse Jr. on the show before, but we had not talked about it since his commitment to the Bruins, I don't believe. So, yeah, he committed to UCLA. We talked about it on the show. I think I saw this somewhere. I think one of his former coaches for the Bruins now. So that one kind of makes sense there for you as well. It was a short commitment. Don't really know what to make of it. Don't really know what was the main headline in that decision for him. But he's now a UCLA Bruin. Seems like there's some ties there. So that might be the best fit for him. So that covers all the recruiting news. But here's the most important question, and kind of what some of chat is getting to right now, Christian. Is it time to panic? Is it time to smack the panic button on the 2027 class for Georgia? Sound the alarms of what the heck is going on? This class is already a dud. What do we do? What is Kirby Smart doing? What are these guys doing? We need more recruits. Why aren't we getting them?
You know, I've been on this. This is going to be my 4th season.
I don't know.
This will be my 4th season, 23.
4th season, yes.
Yeah, this will be my 4th season on the show. I think at every point, sometime between the month of May to early June, sometimes it's late April, we get in front of this microphone and we look around and go, ooh, I don't know what they're going to do for this class. I don't know how things are going to turn out. They're in the 30s right now. They have less than 10. It feels like they don't have any big leads. It feels like, and then we get to the end of summer, we get to late June, we get to July, and we look around and we go, oh my God, they have 28 commits, and they're pretty much done recruiting now. The class is kind of set. They've got the guys they've wanted. I'm not going to say that this is exactly what's going to happen, and I think it's irresponsible to just say, this is how it always is. We don't need to worry about it. But I've said this before, and I think it's fair to say, Kirby Smart should have the trust of fans and people around the building based on what he's been able to do on the recruiting trail for the last 10 years. I understand that times are changing. I understand that the way that talent is acquired is different. I understand that Georgia might not be able to sign number 1 and number 2 classes like they were willy-nilly from 2017 to 2020. I get that. But at the same point, it feels like we always get to this point of the year where it's like, what are we going to do? And they go on a very strong streak, and we look up and say, hey, they've got 25 commits. They're going to be all right. So I don't think you need to hit the panic button right now. However, it is certainly something to keep an eye on. The momentum certainly has not been good as of late. That's not denying that, but I'm not panicking right now. Kirby Smart is one of the few people in college football where I think you can say, I'm going to put my feet up on the desk, wake me up in December, and we'll see what we got.
Yeah, I believe this time last year, Georgia it was either 5 or 6 commits in the 2026 class. They ended up with the top 5 class in the country. It's on par for Georgia every single year. It may not be top 3 like every fan wants, but it was a top 5 class, and it was a really good class. There was a long way to go. I mean, heck, even if Georgia had 15 players committed right now in the 2027 class, all anybody would be worrying about is hanging on to those players for the next, 9 months or 7 months, whatever it is. So even if they were committed, it's not like you'd be feeling good about where it's at right now because you know you're susceptible to people flipping and people making last-minute decisions, all that good stuff. So ultimately, all it boils down to is what does the class look like in the month of December? And as we mentioned on the show before, I think you're going to see a different look at Georgia's recruiting tactics and overall class this year as to prior years. I think it might look a little bit different, but we'll see how that plays out. But certainly not time to hit the panic button. I know it's daunting to see players flip to other schools and choose other schools and maybe some schools that you don't think that they typically would choose over Georgia. It's just the nature of recruiting at the moment, unfortunately. However you want to view that, whether it's a fortunate thing or unfortunate thing, I mean, good players are going to more schools. I mean, it's not like Georgia is just consistently losing battles to Alabama or Ohio State or Miami right now. I mean, everybody's battling for a bunch of good players. I mean, they're just going widespread all over the country at the moment. So there's a lot more balance to how recruits are being dispersed out to other teams right now. So don't hit the panic button. For the last 10 years, Kirby Smart has landed a top 5 recruiting class every single year. So I wouldn't be stressing about it too much. I think that he knows what he's doing. That staff knows what they're doing. All right. You wanted to play a game of shaping the narrative, essentially. I don't know how you would phrase it. Shaping the narrative, reconstructing the narrative.
Yeah, so I feel like we've got a handful of Georgia players here right now that kind of have a national narrative around them, whether it's good, bad, or positive, or just indifferent. And I kind of want to set that narrative, see what the nation thinks of these players, and see if we agree with it, see what's wrong about it, see what's right about it. So the first player I'll go with, for example, is Nate Frazier. I think Nate Frazier is probably one of the more recognizable players on Georgia's roster this season. It seems to me that Nate Frazier, the narrative around him nationally is that he is one of the top 5 running backs in college football. He has the potential to have a fantastic season. A lot of people are buying stock in that. What do you think about that narrative? Is there anything you would adjust? Is there anything you would change?
Well, I thought it was rather interesting that Nate Frazier on somebody's stream or podcast recently said that he doesn't expect himself to be the top running back or the first overall pick in this upcoming class. Like, he doesn't set himself to that standard.
I think he set himself, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was, I don't expect to be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, as I said, like, I don't think he expects to be the number 1 overall pick. So that kind of shapes my thinking into this. Like, obviously Nate Frazier has a very realistic outlook about himself, has a very realistic viewpoint of what his overall trajectory of his career is. I would simply put it as this. At its peak, at Nate Frazier's best, if he has the best season to date of his career in 2026, I think he is a first-round running back. Like, plain and simple, one of the best running backs in the conference, one of the best in the country. Like, at his peak, he could become that. I think Nate Frazier's floor is he's a third-round running back in this year's NFL draft class. Like, that's kind of what I would put it. I think Nate Frazier is a guy that is capable of getting to 1,000 rushing yards, but with how many bodies are in the room, I don't think he's going to get to that point this season. But he's certainly capable of getting into that 900-yard mark. I mean, that's kind of what I would set the standard at for him.
There's also a narrative, and this isn't, I don't know if it's a national narrative. I don't think it is. It's more one within the fan base, and it's gotten better that I think we need to correct. If Nate Frazier has a fumbling problem, he fumbles all the time. Nate Frazier didn't fumble since the Alabama game. Nate Frazier had a fumbling problem in the freshman year. That's why he didn't play a lot. That's why he didn't get as many reps as people thought. Everyone goes, where's Nate Frazier? Nate Frazier fumbled the ball, lost 2 fumbles twice in the 2025 season. One against Alabama proved to be very crucial. We all know that he's talked about that ad nauseum. Did not fumble the ball since then. So knock on wood. I don't think Nate Frazier has a fumbling issue. I think Nate Frazier had 1 or 2 unfortunate moments during the 2025 season that got corrected very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I want for Nate this season, and we've mentioned this before. I just need this season to be the year where Nate Frazier puts it all together, because I think like I would almost segment Nate's season last year into different areas where the first part of the season, it just didn't go how we wanted it to, got off to a rough start. We're trying to figure some things out. When we came back and we were full go, then it was just all about, I'm going to hold on to this football and I'm going to pick up positive yards every time. I'm putting my head down and I'm picking up 5 yards, getting the dirty yards like we were talking about last year. And then at the back end of the season, you kind of saw him get into the electric playmaker that he can be, where he's picking up yards after contact. But I don't think you ever saw the full capability of Nate last season. Whereas this year, I think we see a more confident Nate Frazier, and I think we see him kind of just piece it all together, and it just works in one full motion to where not only are we picking up yards after contact at the point of a tackle, but we're also making people miss at the second level, and we're making the secondary miss as well, taking care of +1 defenders, and we're kind of breaking off 40-yarders, 30-yarders, being this electric running back that I think we can be.
Agreed. All right, next player I have on this list is Drew Bobo. Now, Drew Bobo is not exactly a majorly known commodity. Most centers aren't in the national media space, but the people that do know him, I feel like kind of look at that and go, oh, son of the offensive coordinator. That's probably why he's starting, which could not be further from the truth. I think Drew Bobo, dare I say, was your most consistent player last season on the offensive line.
Offensive line, yeah.
So he is, and you felt his absence in the Alabama game. You certainly felt it in the Georgia Tech and Ole Miss game. I think Drew Bobo is one of the more dynamic, and maybe dynamic's not the right word, but more reliable players on the Georgia Bulldogs offense this season.
I think he's a glue guy. And that's kind of pointing to what you just mentioned, where when he wasn't healthy and he wasn't on the offensive line. Now, Malachi Tolliver did a great job in the SEC championship game, but it did seem like there were some things missing when Drew Bobo wasn't out there. He's a glue guy, and that's one of the most important guys you could have on an offensive line. The fact that you can roll out a center that, yeah, his dad might be the offensive coordinator on the football team, but that guy understands football at a very high level. He knows where he needs to be every single time, and not only that, he knows where everybody is supposed to be on a play, where they need to be going, declaring Mike linebackers, making sure the protection's good, helping out the quarterback. Drew Bobo does a lot for this offense. He's a very valuable player. So, no, he may not be a second-round draft pick or a first-round draft pick or anything like that, but that guy is a glue guy on this offense. And when he's not on the field, you are very aware of it, and it's felt. And I think that hopefully we'll get a full season of him this year. And, the run game was at its best, point and simple, when Drew Bobo was out on the field. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, and I think that's not a coincidence.
For sure, definitely not. Next player I have is KJ Bolden. I feel like the narrative around KJ Bolden right now is that he is safety one in the next year's draft. I think that he's kind of the guy that everyone's circled of, he's probably the best defensive secondary player that Georgia has right now, aside from Ellis Robinson, who we'll get to later. I think that the narrative is this is a pretty much, as long as he does what he's done the last 2 years, he'll be a first rounder. And I don't disagree with that narrative. However, I think that we've acknowledged this before, that there is certainly an extra level to KJ Bolden's game that has not been touched quite yet.
Yeah, when he first came onto the scene as a true freshman, it was just KJ Bolden cutting loose, doing everything he could, and playing with his hair on fire. And I think that's the best version of KJ. And I think you see this, which I think I would almost kind of put Chris Cole in the same category of KJ, where in year one, we were playing free. We were playing just playing fast. We were playing as fast as we possibly could be, but we're also playing free because we have so many other great players around us, and we're maybe not the focal point of the defense at the very moment because I have Malachi Starks next to me, and that's who they're focusing on, and he's going to cover whatever else I don't need to be doing to where I can play more freely, and you saw him be a bit more of a playmaker as a true freshman. And then the second year, we're the guy now. We're the guy in the secondary. We are the safety at the University of Georgia, and that's who everybody's focused on. And he was in this spot to make plays last season. He was in a spot to make plays against Alabama both times, make interceptions, and he just didn't make the plays. And maybe we were playing a little too tight last year because we were the guy in the safety room. And maybe this year we see a fully confident, playing free KJ Bolden. I don't have to worry about what the guy's doing next to me because I have faith in him. I played with Zion Branch last year, or I got some reps in with Rayshawn Dinkins last year. I know I'm good over there. I can just kind of focus on me for a little bit. I think that would be the best case for KJ Bolden this year, if that's the version that you get. But a great football player nonetheless.
Absolutely. All right. The man himself, Gunnar Stockton. Now, this one's weird because there's a lot of dynamic narratives around Gunnar Stockton, and they range from everything from he's one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC to this guy absolutely sucks. He's a turd. He shouldn't even be on the field right now. Get him off. So I don't know if there is a national consensus for a narrative on Gunnar Stockton. However, we can talk about the different ones and whether or not we disagree with them. I think we all acknowledge that Gunnar Stockton is far from a bad quarterback. He's far from someone who, if you're a wide receiver at Georgia, you should threaten to leave if he doesn't play, if he starts. I also don't know if Gunnar Stockton is, number 3 in the SEC yet. I think Gunnar Stockton is the epitome of a perfect quarterback for the system Georgia needs to run. Who another player where he's still got a lot to scratch on the surface. For God's sakes, he started, 15 games? Yeah, he's a veteran. Yeah, he's been in the system for 4 years. He has not had a lot of in-game experience, and I think that probably will increase this year as far as experience goes. There's a lot left to Gunnar Stockton's game that I think if he touches that, I think it gets in that, he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Making sure you're liking and subscribing if you haven't already.
Oh, yes, please.
I feel like, honestly, when I look around at the national narrative of people who have a good pulse around college football, like I'm not talking about just anybody who sits in front of a microphone or NFL guys, whoever. Like I'm not talking about those people, but for people who have a good pulse on college football, I haven't seen anybody be too off base with Gunnar Stockton. I think that people kind of have him in a respectable viewpoint at the moment, and I think people view him as a really good college quarterback, and that's exactly how I would describe him. I mean, the guy finished, I think, 7th in Heisman voting last year. He was really good last year. He put up good numbers. He showed up in the biggest moments of the season every single time. We relayed the information multiple times throughout the season last year. Like, he was arguably the best quarterback in all of college football in the fourth quarter. Like, when the lights were the brightest, when the moments were the biggest in the games, Gunnar Stockton showed up more than anybody and played consistent, great football down the stretch. But the knock against him is, well, he can't read an offense, or he's not willing to make big throws, or he's not willing to do this. Like, whatever you want to label the limitation on of who Gunnar Stockton is as a quarterback, I would first say, yes, there are limitations to his game, but the way I would phrase it is Gunnar Stockton is more than capable of reading an offense. Like, when you cut on the tape and you watch Brooks's breakdowns last season, you could see where Gunnar is progressing through the offense. Like, he knows where to look, where his checks are, everything. There were just moments where, I see Colby Young streaking down the field, but I don't want to throw it. Probably should have. Or Oscar Delp or whoever it was, and just wasn't willing to pull the trigger. I think that falls back on what Kirby is talking about with he hasn't played all that much football as a starting quarterback. At the college level, it's been 15 games. I think that's something that he gets better at game by game, and I think it's certainly something you'll see him be better at this season. So that would be the narrative of that I would push is Gunnar Stockton was a good quarterback last year, and I think there's a potential for him to take an even further step forward this next season. But ultimately, if he resides the same, this isn't a guy that's going to be holding back Georgia too much. I mean, heck, they lost one regular season game last year, and when Georgia had to get in a shootout, Gunnar Stockton was arguably at his best in those games, hence Tennessee and Ole Miss. So he's a really good college quarterback. That's what the narrative should be.
I don't think Gunnar Stockton held Georgia back at all last year.
No.
I think that there were certain areas and opportunities that he might not have taken advantage of to the fullest of the liking of Georgia fans. I don't know how you look at Gunnar Stockton in either of their losses and go, they lost that game because of him. So that's
I mean, there's in every loss you can look back and point at some plays that players should have made. But because Gunnar Stockton didn't throw a ball wasn't the reason why they lost to Ole Miss. But is that something that maybe was holding back the explosivity of the offense? I would say yes, and I think Gunnar would agree with that as well. I mean, he mentioned it in the offseason that was something he wanted to get better at was pocket management and making sure that he's really progressing and making sure that he's putting the ball where it needs to be and making some of those explosive plays. And Kirby Smart has talked about becoming a more explosive offense, but everybody else has to do their job too in order for the offense to be explosive. It's not just on Gunnar Stockton.
All right, this one won't take long, but I just want to correct the national narrative on this. Anytime that the tight end room is brought up around the University of Georgia and how great of a job Todd Hartley has done with recruiting and all the names, and they rattle off names like Elias Williams, Ethan Barbour, Lawson Lucky, all these guys, Jaden Riddell's making plays this year, and people go, and they've got this freshman Caden Prothro. I just want to change the narrative on this and make sure we say it straight. Caden Prothro is, yes, he was recruited as a tight end. Yes, that's what he's technically listed as. He will not be playing traditional tight end for Georgia this year. He will be used in very certain situations. He is not a tight end. So just fixing that narrative really quick.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I would put it this way. I would expect Caden Prothro to be utilized very similar to how Elias Williams was last year. And what I mean by that is there were just certain packages and certain scenarios where Georgia was like, okay, it's time to put Caden Prothro out on the field. And we saw it in the Mississippi State game. We saw it in a lot of games, actually, where it was 50-50 ball opportunities, where if Elias Williams gets a one-on-one opportunity, the ball is going to him, or certain 12 personnel packages, things like that. I think that's how you're going to see Caden Prothro be used, where, hey, we might have a 12 personnel set with Caden Prothro in the slot. We're going to make the defense declare whether or not you're counting that 13 personnel or 12 personnel. Caden Prothro is a wide receiver. The whole point of having Caden Prothro on your team this year and for the foreseeable future is he is going to force defenses to make tough decisions and decide who is going to cover this guy. And no matter who you put on him, you're probably going to be at a disadvantage. So that's how he'll be utilized. And yes, you are correct in the sense of probably not going to be a tight end, despite the fact he might be labeled as that. that's not the position technically he will be playing this season.
All right, we've got two more players, and this is actually a tight end that we have to talk about. Lawson Lucky. I feel like the narrative around Lawson Lucky is he's kind of just thrown in with this other, like, yeah, he's good too. Everyone's talking about Elias Williams. Everyone's talking about Ethan Barbour. Jaden Riddell's, like we just said, shooting up the charts. And it's like, oh, yeah, Lawson Lucky, the guy who's been there for 4 years and has consistently made plays and is one of the few tight ends in Georgia history to have 3 touchdowns in a single game. Like, my opinion on this, and I don't know if you agree with this, is that Lawson Lucky, yes, is probably not the highest ceiling of an Elias Williams or an Ethan Barbour or some of the other guys in that room. But Lawson Lucky is one of the better tight ends you have right now and is one of the more underrated weapons that this team has.
Well, I wrote an article about Jordan Hall today talking about how I think he's kind of one of these forgotten pieces that nobody's talking about of returning player on Georgia's defense. And I understand he was injured for the last 6 or so games last season due to a knee injury. He was out all spring, so there really wasn't a whole lot of reason to talk about Jordan Hall. But the reason why he should be talked about and why his return is such a big deal for Georgia's defense is because having a guy that has been with your program for as long as Jordan Hall has is always valuable. And Jordan Hall was playing really good football last year, and just like Lawson Lucky, he was also playing really good football last year. And there's something to be said about having a guy like Lawson Lucky who has been a part of this offense, who has been a part of this program for that many years and is a veteran in the room who knows what he is supposed to be doing and what needs to be done at practice, during games, on every single play. Georgia has a lot of talent in the room, but not a lot of them have a lot of experience. But Lawson Lucky does, and he's the old head in the room, and every room needs that, in my opinion. He's going to be the consistent piece in all of this.
I'll also say this. There's a lot of, players transfer away. If you're a guy at Georgia who's not really getting anything done, you're kind of wasting a depth chart spot, you will be told hey, it's time to transfer. It's time for you to leave. Certain players who have not left are there for a reason. Jordan Hall is there for a reason. Lawson Lucky is there for a reason. Terrell Foster is there for a reason. I think these veteran guys that are there for 4 and 5 years kind of be looked at as, they're just not the high end. They're not as flashy. They are there for a reason. So Lawson Lucky is absolutely there for a reason. And the last player that I think we have a narrative to spin around is DeMello Jones. DeMello Jones is often looked at as, he's the other guy to Ellis Robinson. Ellis Robinson is the first-round draft pick, cornerback 1 by a lot of projections. And then there's DeMello Jones, a guy who was pretty good last year. Now, we both agree DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson had a lot of areas where they needed to improve, in which they did improve throughout the season. However, I feel like the narrative around DeMello Jones should be, if he can fix a few things in coverage, he's one of the better tacklers this defense has. He has an opportunity to be, I'm not going to say Kamari Lassiter, but a figure like that where it's a quarterback who's very solid in coverage and is also not afraid to stick his nose in and tackle.
I mean, he certainly is a tad overlooked, I would say, because anytime, like I saw a list today, and it was this guy projecting all of the cornerbacks next year in the NFL draft, and Ellis Robinson is on that list, and he's projected as a first-round draft pick, but I don't see DeMello Jones, and I understand why, because I think everybody just knows and assumes that Ellis Robinson is going to the league next year, and you're probably right, but DeMello Jones is also eligible for the draft, and he has the capability to make that decision as well. Whether or not he does that, it all depends on how he plays this season, but You saw spurts of greatness in both Robinson and Jones last season. Jones, it was more so making a tackle in the screen game and doing it violently and just being that guy that's willing to stick his nose in anything and everything. And he has that dog in him, as a lot of people want to say, like you're kind of pointing to with Kamari. Like he just has that dog in him. And I think that him and Ellis will really complement each other really well this next season, where Ellis has that dog in him where there's no wide receiver on planet Earth, there's no route or anything like that that scares him or frightens him or makes him want to panic. And so he has a dog in him in that sense, whereas DeMello has a dog in him of, I just want to smack the crap out of anybody, and I'm going to stand up for my teammates, and I'm going to do whatever it requires for me to make sure that our defense gets off the field right here. So I think they'll both complement one another. Ellis certainly has the profile that is more, how would I put it, it's better looking to the NFL as
more
opposed
traitsy.
To maybe more traitsy, but DeMello's also pretty dang traitsy too. Like that guy's going to go to the NFL Combine and he's going to put on a freaking show. He's going to run fast. He's going to measure out really well. So maybe one of the more overlooked players, if you want to say, on Georgia's defense. But I would also say, like, keep a tab on that one, guys, because that one's going to be one to talk about when it's time for him to go to the league too.
That was all the players I had to shift the narrative for.
All right. Well, do you want to go to another game that you presented? Just real quick. We don't have to dump the whole clip right here, but name that play after this player.
Before we do that, I think we should just give a quick shout out to the Diamond Dogs.
Okay.
SEC regular season champions, swept the Tigers. Ooh, you look like you're about to give a take.
I feel like you're giving me Brooks energy right now.
Why is that?
Where I try and make a decision, it's like, oh, that's a great choice.
Oh, I'm
Jwill. Actually, we're going to do this instead, though.
Jwill, I'm sorry.
No, keep going with it. I would love to give a shout out to the Diamond Dogs.
I just figured, we could interlace the.
I was just kind of breaking up the show a little bit, like, hey, we're at the halfway point. Let's play a little fun game, and then we can return back some of the other topics.
Dude, you know what? You are in the big man's chair. You're in the boss's chair. This is your show. If you want to play the game, the player game, we can do that.
Thank you.
So
let's give a shout out to the Diamond Dogs, why don't we?
You bastard.
The Diamond Dogs, Christian, which I know you're not the biggest baseball fan, but I know that you like to keep up with Georgia sports. And the Georgia baseball team this past weekend not only swept the LSU Tigers, have not only reached 41 wins on the season, but they also clinched the title of SEC regular season champions, something they have not done since 2008. The last time they also went to Omaha, the College World Series, a huge feat for Wes Johnson. Mind you, in the preseason coaches poll, Georgia was selected to finish 9th in the conference. They have now finished 1st in the conference. Looks like they're going to be receiving a national bid when regional play comes around. Going to be hosting a regional. If they make it past that, we'll certainly be hosting a super regional, one would think, and then try and make it to the College World Series out there in Omaha. But a huge and yet another successful season for Wes Johnson and the boys out there.
Just need the bullpen to come together, man, because everyone knows the bats.
Just need pitching. Pitching in general. They have some really good pitchers. That's not to just out everybody, but that has been kind of the weak point of this team, but the offense. They just continue to produce. And to Wes Johnson's credit as well, I mean, Jay Johnson, who has won a national title before, the LSU head coach, said, like, that team has it. Like, what it takes to win a national title, they have all the things. Like, they have the charisma, they have the connection. That team has everything, and they're peaking at the right time, and they're doing everything that it requires to go out there and win a national title. So maybe, hopefully, he ends up being right. But, I mean, this is now 3 straight years where, I mean, Wes Johnson took over a baseball program that had struggled a little bit under Coach Strickland. Had some highlight years, had some impressive seasons, but ultimately didn't unfold into anything that fans really wanted. And Wes Johnson has taken this thing over. In the first season, they make the super regional round under Charlie Condon and all those guys. The next season, they make the regional round. And now this year, they're going to be doing the same thing in postseason play for the 3rd straight year. And it's all because of the offense. And it's been that way for the past 3 seasons. And I don't want to say that he took a risk this offseason. I mean, this is kind of the new era of college sports, but I mean, this guy just completely built a roster out of the transfer portal. I mean, he went out there, outside of a few guys that were on last year's team, guys like Trey Phelps, Daniel Jackson, Colby Branch, like outside of guys like that, it's a brand new team. It was all a whole bunch of new guys. And while it's easy to say, like, well, he just went out there and bought a whole bunch of talent, well, you also have to get those guys to play together, especially in baseball. You have to get them to understand what the objective is, the play style that you want, all of those things, and you have to get the right guys in the right lineup spots. He's done a tremendous job coaching his team, and he's done it for 3 straight years, and Georgia fans should be nothing but satisfied with what Coach Johnson has done so far.
For sure. All right, where are we going next, Supreme Leader?
Can we play a game now?
Yeah, let's play a game.
All right, let's play the game. You're going to name a player. I'm going to name that play that makes me think of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those of you who don't know, this is a little game we've got in the offseason where I'm going to name a random UGA player from the last 10 to 15 years, and we'll both say the first play that comes to our mind with corresponding player. For example, Jwill, what is the first play you think of when I say Chris Conley?
Bowl game, Nebraska.
Oh, the screen?
Yes.
Yes. I don't remember the game it was, and I don't remember who they were playing, but he has a diving catch in the back of the end zone against it's a no-one team.
Is it North Texas?
I don't think it was North Texas. It was.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was the 2014 season. Georgia had kind of lost their national title hopes by that point, and Hudson Mason just throws a deep bomb. It's one of the more impressive touchdown passes Chris Conley has. I can't remember who.
Actually, I'd like to change my answer. It's the one-handed catch against Tennessee.
Yes.
That was one heck of a catch.
That's
in the
an incredible
back left
catch.
corner of the end zone. Oh, my gosh.
Is he one of the most underrated receivers?
I don't know if he is underrated anymore because I feel like people only continue to talk about him. And I feel like you get to a point where so many people say he's underrated that he no longer becomes underrated. And I hope that's the point that we've reached for Chris Conley because me as a kid, Chris Conley was like one of my all-time favorite players. I loved Chris Conley. I thought he was so good, and he was such a fantastic wide receiver. Had a very long career in the NFL
Great
as well.
role model, too.
Yeah, just a great person overall, it seems like. So hopefully he's not underrated anymore. But at the time, like after his career, I think people kind of did take for granted just how good he was.
You know, I'm proud of us because there is a certain play that neither of us named, and it doesn't have to be named. So shout out us, dude.
Yep, nope. Doesn't have to be talked about.
All right, when I say this player, what play comes to mind? Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint.
The first one that came into my mind was the touchdown pass from Stetson against Tennessee in 2022 in the back of the end zone in the middle. It was a very tough catch to make. Got both feet down, I want to say. Would have been good on Sundays. And it kind of really broke open the game. Like at that point,
that's when I think that went up to make it 21-3.
Yeah, at that point, I was like,
ass now.
Okay, Georgia is just about to run away with this thing. Had it not rained, would have been 50. You know.
The rain saved him. Some
Yeah.
people say the rain saved Georgia that day.
Mm-hmm.
The first one always comes to mind for me, and it's not necessarily as much because Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, but I feel like that this play is burnt into my mind just because of off-season tape. The Carson Beck pass from Kentucky, I think that play popped up 100 times on any NFL scout board in the
betcha.
offseason.
Why this guy's going to be the first overall pick next year? Look at this throw against Kentucky to Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint.
Yes.
It was probably one of the best throws of his career, of college career, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a good one.
Rojak also had some really good plays. Obviously, the unfortunate ankle injury as a freshman against Florida in 2020. He was the recipient of Dylan Bell's touchdown pass against Tennessee in 2023. Had some was just a reliable guy for Georgia.
He was.
All right. What play comes to mind when I give you this name? And this one's going to be tough. Nick Chubb.
Oh, man. So many of them. I almost just want to sit here and list every single play of Nick Chubb that I think of. Like him getting his helmet ripped off against Clemson and fighting for every yard despite not having his helmet.
Freshman Nick Chubb.
Him breaking off every single big run against Louisville in the Belk Bowl. That was awesome. The first run he has in the second half against Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl.
Yes, that's the one that comes to mind.
That's probably the one I would associate most with him, of where you can literally see every player on the field stop, at least on defense. Everybody on Oklahoma's defense thinks, the play's over. We're about to get this guy down. There's two guys tackling him. No way. This guy breaks them and breaks both of them and then proceeds to score a touchdown.
The first play where I realized, this is a dude, was the 2014 Auburn game where he's a freshman and he takes a screen pass and he runs into the back of a Georgia player's block. He steps out of bounds and what didn't ultimately end up being a touchdown, but cuts left, then cuts right and goes in the end zone. I was like, this guy is a different animal. And I can't remember if that was before or after the Todd Gurley injury.
I can't remember.
But it was something to cheer me. I remember that was the one thing I held on to from that game. Like, man, I might have just watched the last Todd Gurley play ever. At least we have this Nick Chubb guy.
This Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb guy seem to be pretty freaking good, so I think we'll be in good hands.
All right, here's another one, and this one's Kirby Smart era as well. What's the first play you think of when I tell you the name Richard LeCount?
Oh, man. This is another one I really got to think about. The one play I think about with Richard LeCount. I could think of a moment of Richard LeCount thanks to Brooks taking a photo, and it's him standing in front of the Georgia Tech fans. But
the Richard LeCount moment I always think of is in the documentary after the 2021 Natty of him and Andrew Smart dancing in the locker room. The play that I always think of, and I can't remember if this is 2018 or 19. I want to say it's 19. Might have been 18. The fumble recovery he has against Florida.
Ooh, yeah.
I can't remember which year it was. I know Georgia was wearing red that year, so I think it's 2018. But I remember that being like, the ball just perfectly bounces into his arms. I thought he was going to scoop and score, but ultimately he gets caught.
I do, and this is also, again, courtesy to Brooks because I feel like I've watched this play so many times. But the play I do think about was him against Auburn when he covers the whole length of the field and meets a receiver at the line of scrimmage on one of those fancy design plays by Gus Malzahn, and Richard LeCount comes out of nowhere and tackles that guy again at the line of scrimmage. And it was like, how in the world? One, how did you know the ball was going there? How did you know that was happening? Two, how did you even cover that much ground and get there? That was him in a nutshell. I mean, that guy was such a savant.
I just thought he forces that safety against Arkansas in the COVID game, right?
I think so. He did he had a really good game.
I know he definitely had the one-handed interception in that game. That's another great play that I think people forget about. But yeah, Richard LeCount, one of the more underrated. Those jerseys were so sick, dude.
They were.
They need to bring them back. All right,
they were.
Last one for the day before we move on to another segment. What play do you think of when I say Isaac Nauta?
Oh, it's got to be the Tennessee game.
Which one? Because there's two Tennessee moments in Sanford.
The Tennessee game that I'm talking about is where Jake Fromm gets stripped and Isaac Nauta's in the perfect spot, picks it up, and runs it in for a touchdown. That's my Isaac Nauta play.
That's got to be one of the most confusing film sessions ever because that strip sack was Isaac Nauta's fault.
Yes.
He completely misses his block. However, the wherewithal to pick up a fumble and run it for a touchdown, like, what grade are you getting on that play?
I don't know. I feel like the conversation would have been, first off, you missed your assignment. That's why our quarterback is getting hit, and that's why the ball's on the ground. Second off, why are you not diving on the ball? Why are you trying to pick the sucker up and potentially miss it and let the defense recover it? Number three, great job on scoring a touchdown there.
Another Tennessee play and this one goes under the radar. It's the 2016 game, and I can't remember. It's late in the second half. Jacob Eason throws a strike to him over the middle, and he just runs away from everyone. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time where I was like, oh, man, this Isaac Nauta guy is going to be something. And he was a really solid tight end for Georgia. I don't think we ever saw the peak of what we thought he was going to be, but very solid tight end.
I think we just hit some limitations athletically.
Yeah.
Don't think it exactly panned out and developed into what. He was a solid tight end during his time at Georgia. But for what Georgia got accustomed to having after his departure, it certainly wasn't that, but a very solid tight end.
And it's also hard to be a dynamic weapon on tight end when Georgia has a pair, when you're a freshman, always. And then in 2017 and 2018, Georgia has a pair of 1,000-yard running backs in the backfield. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be the star of the show when that happens. I think people forget about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that was this week's edition or today's edition of Name That Play.
All right. Let's give a top 5. Let's give the top 5 things we love most about summers in Athens, and I will let you go first.
You want me just to knock them all out, 1 through 5?
Yeah, or we could just have a general discussion about it, however you want to do this.
All right, my number 1, and I'm putting this first, and it's my favorite, and I don't care what anyone says. It's the best time of year because we're past the pollen stage. Everyone gets excited in the spring because, ooh, it's warm again. Oh, I can finally go outside and feel good. The problem is you get your ass kicked by allergies, and maybe not you. I certainly do. The first 5 weeks of the spring, I cannot go outside with feeling like I'm going to sneeze every 5 seconds. I love the summer months because you still get that warm weather, but I no longer feel like I'm getting attacked by Mother Nature. So that's my number 1 reason for sure.
Now, based on that comment alone, though, I would say that it's almost a lose-lose situation because you're either going to get your butt whooped by pollen because there's some beautiful flowers and plants all across the University of Georgia and in Athens. So pollen is at its peak. I mean, it is. You are swimming in it when you're walking to class, and there's no avoiding it.
Sucks. I hate it.
But as soon as the pollen leaves, the heat arrives.
Yeah.
And heat is different in Athens, and it sucks.
Oh, yes. Lo, let me tell you, that early May or excuse me, like August classes when the classes first start and you walk to class, dude.
Oh my gosh. Oh. You're sitting there on the table and there's sweat just all on the table. You're trying to dry yourself off.
Your backpack has adhered to your shirt.
Oh man, horrible.
Don't even don't let me start on what's going on downstairs. It is Swamp City.
I will give the University of Georgia credit, though, because they do not skimp out on the power bill there. They crank that AC down appropriately. So by the end of the class, you are freezing your butt off because you just went from being super sweaty, now you're dry and cold.
I remember I would purposely find ways to walk from the MLC across through Tate just to get to a class because it was the most optimal time I would spend in the AC. It's no joke.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, this time of year, we're still pretty warm. So
now the real number one answer for anybody that has lived in Athens during the school year and then lived in Athens during the summertime, traffic. Traffic is the number one answer of why Athens is the best place in the summer because now I don't mind it. You know, there's a bunch of people at the school during the school year. So, yeah, there's going to be traffic everywhere you go. You're going to hit a few red lights, going to be sitting there a little bit longer than what you think you will. But, man, it hits different when you get in that first car ride after everybody's gone for the summer and you just cruise on through downtown. Dude. I mean, you get to your stop in like 5 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes. And as someone that drove a vehicle that did not have air conditioning during my time at the University of Georgia, I certainly appreciated that.
Yes, you and me both, dude. The 5 points traffic light is a nightmare when school's in session. Summertime, it's a breeze. Dude.
Yeah, taking that drive down Millage, while it is very nice, oh, man, it is also a bitch.
Ooh, shout out to chat. Ramsey on the summer is a fantastic experience.
I did dabble in Ramsey in the summer.
So for those of you who don't know, Ramsey is the student center where a lot of the students work out. It's a great facility. I worked there actually as a student. However, come fall, middle of the day, that thing is packed. You're waiting 5 minutes for a machine, nothing. Summertime, there might be 10 people in the gym at a total. It's great. Now, the hours change a little bit, but who cares? It's summer either way. So, yeah, that's a shout-out. That's not on my top 5, but certainly one. I did have traffic as my number 2. Number 3, and I don't know if you felt this. You stayed in Athens for the summers, right?
Yeah, a couple times.
You get a sense of intimacy with the community that stays with you. Like, there is like we're the ones who are holding the fort down type thing. Like, going and playing pickleball with people. Like, you feel much more connected with the people that do stay in Athens during the summer. So, I enjoy that part.
That's a valid point. The number 2, now this is associated with the summertime because this is also like basically the only thing that's happening in the summertime. Going to Cutters during Braves games because they always have a deal with beer. I think the one I can remember is Yingling. I think Yingling would be like $2 during Braves games.
Interesting.
Me and my buddies would go take part in that quite a bit during the summertime.
See, Braves and beer are two things that I don't necessarily love.
Oh, you're missing out.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things in the world, beer and Braves.
I've heard. So, but no, that is a valid one. The downtown scene is kind of sad though.
Yeah, it is.
Because you go downtown, you're like, where's all the people at?
That's also maybe another good thing about it. You know, you just kind of get the bar to yourself, man. It's just you and your buddies hanging out in a bar.
You know, it's funny. I've felt this way, and I've lived in the city for 5 years now. Anytime you go downtown in the summer, you're like, man, if it was a game night, it'd be so much more packed here. It'd be so much more fun. And then on game nights, like, I just wish it was. I wish all these people would go away.
Oh, these people are horrible. Dude, oh my gosh!
All these people who definitely don't live in the city, who definitely don't attend University of Georgia, filling up 85. Come on, bro. My number 4. What do I have? Oh, you already took 3 of it. So the last one I have, and this is just a general one. I feel like you get to enjoy the city where you have less responsibilities. There's less class. We don't do as many shows. I have more time to enjoy the city of Athens. There's a lot to offer here, and it's beautiful. So one of my favorite parts about that. And by the way, and we'll segue this later, so you're going to give your number 5. Because I have a bonus.
I think mine are all taken, to be honest.
Really? Mm-hmm. My number 5 answer, and I'm counting this.
Other than it already plays into the part of, like, there's less people, but, like, especially now, I'll give one as someone who is now detached from Athens, who no longer lives there anymore. As someone who gets to go visit Athens quite a bit during the summertime because my weekends are opened up quite a bit more. Being able to just walk into any restaurant I want, not have to wait or anything like that, beauty. I love that. Anytime I get to experience the Athens cuisine at my own freedom, love that.
All right, my secret number 1 answer to this, and I count it as summer because classes are over and it technically marks the official beginning of summer, UGA's graduation. And I think we can use this as a segue to first shout out DJ Shockley, who delivered a fantastic commencement speech. I was there on Friday night. He did a fantastic job. The sunset for this speech, I don't know if you saw pictures, Jwill.
I did.
Whew. Best sunset I've seen at a UGA graduation.
Which I can't remember who it was. It may have been Chris Marler. I can't remember who it was. Someone delivered a take on Twitter, and they said that the University of Georgia, Athens, has the best sunsets in all of the SEC, and I would agree. I've seen a few of them, but, man, a sunset in the Classic City always hits.
Yeah, so shout out to DJ Shockley. Congratulations to all those who graduated this past weekend. It's awesome. My final take on this is that I might be biased. I've been to, I think, 5 of these things now. There is not a school that does graduation ceremonies better than the University of Georgia. I've been to 5 of these things. In 3 of them, I don't even know anyone who's graduating or have like close friends who I'm going for. I just go for the event. I don't know if that's weird, but it is a fantastic event. They do a fantastic job of making you feel proud to be a Georgia Bulldog. So if you haven't been to a graduation, if you're going to plan on graduating, if if on the fence, if I don't know if I'm going to do the same for graduation, please go. You won't regret it.
It is a fantastic experience. As someone who took part in it as a graduating student last year, they do a fantastic job putting on one final show for their graduates.
All right, what other news topics do we have? I feel like we're missing one.
I don't think so.
Okay. I've got a topic that I want to talk about with you that I don't know if this is a spur-of-the-moment debate. How different would these 2 prospects be if all you didn't change a single thing about their game, didn't change a single thing about the way they played, you didn't change anything but their names?
All right.
Gunnar Stockton, Arch Manning.
First off, what are their names? What are their new names? If I change their names, what are their new names?
No, you just change them. Gunnar Stockton's name is Arch Manning, and Arch Manning's name is Gunnar Stockton.
Okay, so they're this. So I'm now, to make myself clear, or make yourself clear here, so I am taking the player of Gunnar Stockton, but he is now named Arch Manning, and Arch Manning, the player, is now named Gunnar Stockton. That's all that changes is just the name.
Correct. The name is the only thing that changes.
And how do their evaluations change? That's what you're asking?
Correct.
So first and foremost, if Arch Manning had the season that Gunnar Stockton had last year, which, before I say this, Arch Manning had a good end to the season last year. Like, he still put together a rather impressive season despite some of the other factors in the offense and the other factors of the Texas football team. I thought Arch Manning played great the times that I watched him, or good, I should say. Like, that guy was leaving it out on the football field every single night, was competing his nuts off, especially against Georgia. Again, sometimes the other parts around him didn't hold up for him, and so it led to the detriment of his overall success in that game. But overall, had a good season. But had Arch Manning had the moments that Gunnar Stockton had last season, and had the overall success that Gunnar Stockton had last season of winning the SEC, playing in a playoff game, going 11-1 in the regular season, beating the crap out of Alabama in the SEC championship game, having a comeback win against Tennessee on the road, having a shootout against Ole Miss at home and coming out on top of that one, leading a comeback victory against Auburn at Jordan-Hare at a nighttime game during the Cam Newton retirement day. Boy, I think that the publicity around Gunnar Stockton would be a whole lot different if his name were Arch Manning, because you can hardly build a better resume than that.
Yeah, and I kind of want to take this from the avenue of NFL prospect, too, because I feel like they're 2 exact opposites. Like, one is Arch Manning, where the hype around him is he's certainly a talented player, but I think the hype around him as a prospect is the ceiling. Like, I mean, for God's sakes, he's a Manning. He's got a great arm. He's athletic, all these things, but hasn't necessarily shown on the field that he's fully reached his potential. Whereas you look at Gunnar Stockton, a guy who has had these gritty wins, has played a ton of games, but everyone looks at him and goes, yeah, this will never work in the NFL. What would that be if you attached the name of, hey, he's a Manning, but his play style never work in the NFL?
So I think this is the best way, and we actually have a Texas fan in the chat right now. Bandit, you could let me know if I'm totally off base when I say this, but I think this is a very reasonable way to say that Arch Manning, the name, holds weight, but he's also a great prospect. Arch Manning is talented enough to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft next year. Like, take the name away from him if he's just player A. Player A is talented enough to be the first guy off the board next year in the NFL draft. But the reason that nobody will actually pass up on him, like whichever team is sitting there at first overall next year, and if Arch Manning has the season that he's supposed to this year and has a lot of success and plays his way into being good enough to be the first overall pick, the reason why nobody will pass up on him in that situation, or why so many teams will want to trade up for him, is because because he is a Manning.
Right.
Like, Arch Manning is a great player, but there's something to it when you say, but he's a Manning dude. Like this
Right.
is a Manning trilogy right here, or like he comes from the Manning tree.
Mm-hmm.
We can't pass up on that. Like not only is he a great player, but the name is why people are like, we can't pass up on that. Like I don't care how great Sam Levitt or how great Lenore Sellers is this past season. Like we can't be the team that passes up on a Manning.
Yeah, and by the way, this isn't an exercise to talk about how, Arch Manning's only popular because of his name. I know that's a traditional meme where, if Arch Manning was named Arch Smith, he'd be flipping burgers. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to gauge how much weight the name Manning holds for a prospect, especially a prospect who many believe does not necessarily have a big future in the NFL. I don't think anyone looks at Gunnar Stockton and goes, that's an NFL quarterback. Even the ones that say he's a great college quarterback, he's a perfect quarterback for Georgia, I don't think they necessarily say that it goes deep into the NFL. I do wonder how much the weight the name Manning carries for someone who doesn't necessarily have an NFL future.
If Gunnar Stockton were named Arch Manning, the publicity around him would be a lot different.
Definitely.
Would be talked about a whole lot more, would probably be talked about in a different tier than he is right now. I don't think it changes the trajectory that he has in the NFL.
No.
Like I think people would look at Arch Manning in the form of Gunnar Stockton and be like, that guy is great. It's great that he's a Manning, but there's limitations. There's things that we don't like as an NFL organization. There's things that we would like to see be cleaned up if we're going to take a chance on this guy. So I think it goes both ways, but I think Arch Manning is being projected the way he is. One, partially, like a small percentage because he is a Manning. The other is because like that guy has real talent. That guy is super talented, and that guy's going to be successful.
For sure.
Is that all the topics we have tonight, Mr. Kirby?
Oh, you tell me, man. You're the boss of the show.
Yeah, I forgot.
You got
Sorry.
the Film Guy Network on your desk.
So used to bending the knee to everybody in here. I forgot that.
Everybody?
Yeah, I was doing it to you tonight.
What do you been
Oh, Kirby, let's go talk about this tonight. Actually, before we get to that, how about we do this instead? Oh,
I
yes.
made requests.
Yes, Mr. Kirby.
I made requests. I said, can we do this first, please, Jwill? I didn't say, wrong.
So I'm in the driver's seat for the whole week.
Sure, man.
So I get to make the decisions the whole week.
I don't like how much power you feel like you're getting from that.
I'm just asking, like, am I driving the ship this week?
If you would like to.
You heard it here first, everybody. No Kirby top 5 this week. I say so.
Whoa.
Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you guys. Before you leave, drop a like, drop a subscription if you haven't already. Hopefully you tune in with us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. for all 2 hours. We'll see you tomorrow. We love you. We appreciate you.
Wow.
So no top 5. No rage baiting. No
It's
engagement
not rage
farm.
baiting, dude. It's not rage baiting.
No. I'm putting a stop to it.
Wow. All right, you can fill the 10 minutes then.